you also, do you remember when Lord Addict was on and he was he was playing video games while we're doing the podcast?
Dude,
so that's what I should
just
do.
See his glasses,
your lights. I should do that to random like people who are visiting the podcast. Be like, okay, we're here. We're gonna do a little check to see if you're watching or listening. What's up, everybody? This is Carrick with ACG, and I'm here with Johnny for the Best Gaming Podcast. Group of friends sitting down to talk about games. As always, no sponsors. Well, no, nothing. Maybe not even good coverage, but I'll tell you what, we're going to have a good time. Hopefully you guys enjoy us yakking about titles. It is number 512. I also want to say thanks to Spotify and iTunes watchers, and thanks to everybody who showed up for the Commandos reviews and all that kind of stuff. It's been a busy week. But in particular, this podcast is separate from the main channel, so if you get a chance, spread it around to your pally pals, your friendy friends, your best buds, even people you don't like or know. Like if you're walking into the Burger King and there's a guy there, you might just want to say,
if you have someone you hate.
Dude, if you have somebody you hate, give them our podcast. Actually, I feel like that's the best. Dude, listen. I don't know if we talked about this in here or in the Discord, but there was the one guy who's like, he was driving with his kids, listen to last week's podcast, and randomly in the middle of the podcast, I go, Johnny, sex bot, yes or no? And his little kid goes, "What are you listening to, Dad?" And I was like, "You're listening to the Best Gaming Podcast, baby. That's how we roll." Super chat from Jet Black Ninja, 1999. Happy Friday, fellas. Thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Johnny appreciates it. We all appreciate it. Even people in here who hate us appreciate it because I give them something to hate. So you can jump in here and we'll continue to run. We'll continue to do stuff.
So he is Yasuke from AC Shadows.
He is.
Like
Ninja.
Yeah.
Ninja. I mean,
technically not a ninja.
Actually, there weren't even real ninjas back, and here we go, right? At that point. And it's off to the races of the discussion of the century of the things that absolutely are the way to go. Talexis says, nice gay club music. I don't know, man, but I appreciate you giving us your experiences.
Yeah, cheers.
If you're in them a lot,
exactly.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Nice projection right there.
He's like in his background going like, wait, I heard that last night. We do have a lot of stuff to discuss, and one of the first things I want to do is tell Discord fans that in the Patreon, the chat should be up today. We had a couple issues. I was trying to get everything up and running, got a database guy to help me, had an issue with some members and trying to get all the accounts settled. Just about got it done. Then he had a family illness, and then I taught myself in the middle of the night. Last 3 days, I taught myself Portainer. I taught myself a bunch of ways to put together some Docker images, a little bit of help from Reg, and taught myself a bunch of Linux to get some database stuff running. And just as I got it running, and I was in there with Reg, and I'm like, dude, I'm done. I think this is good. I hit upload. Discord went down. I tell you, it was,
wow.
We were laughing, going like, dude, what is this? Like, did I bring it down? Like, that was the weirdest situation I've ever seen. I'm not lying. I go, okay, man, I'm ready to upload it. Boom. And it's like 1, 2, boom, Discord shut down for everybody worldwide. And I was like, I hope I didn't do anything. I'm sure I didn't. But so we'll get that up probably tonight. Got some cool stuff in the Discord set up for some more gaming, some quieter chat channels for people who've been requesting that. Because we always have Discord folks who are like, listen, if like there's 3 or 4 of us in the chat, it's fine. But you always have somebody in there who's just yakking and sometimes or backseat gaming. And I love it because they're all get a DM. Somebody will be like, could you please ask people to not backseat DM? And I'm like, I can ask people. But if you have a problem, you should probably just say it. You should,
Yeah.
You should. I've heard Frankie say that before, where we're in there and Frankie's like, hey, guys, shut up. I'm trying to, even though Frankie's the one who asks all the questions, it's very hard with him because he thinks out loud. He thinks his questions out loud. So he'll be playing a game and be like, should I go right? And you're all, yes.
You want me to tell you? Or
it's like a spouse who's walking through the house doing things and counting off their checklist, and you're like, "Are you telling me I'm not working hard enough? Are you asking me to do stuff?" It's always hard to figure out. Mark Long, $2 super chat. Love the podcast. Makes my night shift go quicker. Ooh, happy go night shift. Have you ever worked a night shift?
Never, and I hope I never have to.
Oh no shit! They're adventurous.
It must be really tough. I think. Yeah.
Okay, we're coming at way different ends of this. So I guess Night Owl in me likes the night shift because there's less a lot of times there's a little less, I guess, just the business side, because the administrative usually isn't there and stuff like that, and you can get your work done a little easier without as much
Less
worry.
distractions, maybe.
Yeah, and people are a little freer and stuff. Yeah, and then sometimes there's something cool about whatever job you're doing it at night. You know, I mean, just ask any stripper; they'll tell you straight.
I just think like the energy levels must be tough to keep in check.
They are. Do you know the biggest success that people have had fixing their night or swing shift was making sure they treated it identical to a day shift, waking up only 1 or 2 hours prior to the work. If you stay up, then by the time you go home after your 8 hours, you are at midnight for a normal person. So your level and safety, like if you ever work at a place that's dangerous, they will ram that into your head all the time. When I worked at a mill, they were like, listen, you can party and, you know, do whatever, but the incidents of accidents that occur from people who, you know, basically flip their schedule and treat the end of their work schedule like nighttime, going to bed right when you get home, is incredibly high compared to others who treat it like a normal. Like
you got to rejigger your entire routine around it.
Yeah.
Just a quick shout out, by the way, in chat to Anna in chat. My girl Anna has been going through a rough time, so just a strong salute.
I didn't even see her in chat.
Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, there we go. Yes. Welcome. Sorry. Had to find you. Don't know if it was gay club, but yes, very Blade club scene. Yes. It is very Blade. That is, I believe that might have been Dance with the Dead, or a band that sort of ripped off Dance with the Dead's ideas. And they're definitely not a gay club scene band. Well, I mean, sorry, gay club, like leaders. They're just hard rockers with guitars. I guess technically it might be now these days.
Hard rockers could.
You never know. Maybe, dude, what if rock and roll? It could go either way. There was a lot of mascara in the 1980s. Just saying. A lot of mascara, a lot of long hair.
Tights.
A lot of tights. Twisted Sister. A lot of lingerie. Just like,
we've seen Bon Jovi in the 80s or 90s. I mean, we all wanted to be like that.
On my back. Can you imagine writing that lyric and not feeling ironically as dumb as humanly possible? Imagine trying to be badass as a rocker and writing, I've got a 6-string on my back.
Cringe.
Oh, dude, looking back, Bon Jovi's probably sitting there going like, da-da-da, got a 6-string on my back. He said, oh, you know, like.
Holy fuck, man, that sounded cool at the time. Like,
yeah, that sounded awesome. Speaking of what sounds awesome, Outer Worlds, we got to see Outer Worlds. IGN did okay, listen.
First.
Yes. I already know what's going to be said, so I'm just going to say it. So, Outer World. So when people do a preview, especially a first hands-on, I have had this pop up with me as well, that I've been asked to sort of make sure that, especially if it's not optimized, to not like go sprinting around. If you're going to have screen tearing, if you're going to have blah, blah, blah. You will notice with a lot of IGN's videos, especially early videos, it's not the gameplay, which is its own discussion that we can certainly have. It's that they go very slow. And I have to say, as somebody who's had to review and cover games for a PC and console, that when I'm playing on PC, a lot of people are like, Jesus, you move really fast. It's hard to see what's going on. So I'll throw some console footage in there on purpose to slow it down, make it a little bit more comfortable for people. That was obviously a controller footage. It was slow, pacey.
Yeah.
But it solidified two things. They're doing the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 thing, where they're not a new engine. It's just, you know, taking what they've got and going with the same art style, which I could not be happier for, because I like that art. I like the engine. I like the look. And then I also noticed very few faces in that footage. Everybody had a mask. And I was like, is that on purpose, or is that? So I don't know. I don't know if that's on purpose. I don't know if that was just where they were, but it looked like Outer Worlds 2 to me. Like, I don't know if you saw anything in it that made you go.
I thought the HUD looked good. I liked their HUDs already from the first game, but I liked the presentation.
That's fair.
Overall. Yeah. Like the dialogue looked interesting too. Like if you saw some of the dialogue options have different things, more dynamic things. Like if you choose this, you're choosing melee. If you choose this, you're choosing ranged weapons.
Fair.
So maybe that's for the mission going forward, or there was some requirements too in dialogue. So I like that.
Okay. Yeah, gotcha. Cool. That's all fair for sure. I liked overall the looks. I liked some of the writing. I could already tell it was them. Generically, I'm just pretty happy with what I saw. I also am very excited very excited, Johnny, because I'm just saying this. I mean, Outer Worlds 2 on Switch too. Like, look at it, look the way it plays.
Yeah.
Switch 1 already had it, already had Outer Worlds, so Outer Worlds 2 on Switch, day and date might be. Microsoft
Solid.
just did their commercial 2 days ago where they really bought into the play anywhere kind of thing, and they were showing every device. They had the rat guy walking around. I don't know if you've seen this weird ass David Fincher. Did you see it? It's a David Fincher. Yeah. It's like a David Fincher commercial where rats are sort of living their lives, and there's one human always there playing on a different system, and then right at the end of the day, it shows like the rat not doing anything and the human playing games. You know,
I think we're gonna see almost every significant third-party title aiming for Switch 2.
We will. We will. Yeah. It was nice to also finally see some devs talk about it, because there was all this stuff. Oh, it's like people don't have this, they don't have that. And there was a lot of people who were just sort of talking out their ass. But the thing is at least the people we've talked to, very happy with the specs that they got before they even got systems. You know, were under the impression of what they were getting was going to be easy to port. What I would say to be the future year or two easily of third-party games. So the third-party games that we have from your Activisions, your Ubisofts, your Microsofts, all these appear to be right in line with something you can get on a Switch 2. Whether it be 30 or not, I don't know. But most likely using an upscaler, they'll head for 90p, upscale to 1080p, then upscale again to 4K. We'll just have to see. But I was excited to see it. Also, some hands-on. People got a chance to go see hands-on. I refuse that trip. I'm not going to go see a hands-on a Switch. Number one, because it wouldn't result in any more games. Like, I'm still not going to get their games because of the way I talk. And number two, I really want to buy it. I don't want any kind of like preconceived notion. I want to get it like when it's ready and just sort of put hands on it and play it, see how the bigger screen feels and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'd like to see some more third parties bounce their fucking, their title announcements up sooner rather than later. I think your best bet, if I were Nintendo, is I'd be asking every third party who was ready to start talking. We're not too far away.
Yeah.
Right? Did you pre-order?
Honestly, actually, I did.
Pussy!
I have to admit.
I'm just joking. No, that's awesome.
And I wasn't even thinking of doing it, but it was so tempting because they just happened to have stock in like a local store.
Yep.
And I was like, I kind of want to check it out. I was a bit too curious. So, yeah.
Dude, I got to tell you. Got a super chat. Danny Passion Official, $5. I'm sorry to bring this. I just wanted to send prayers to my brothers and sisters who were involved in the incident of the club Jet Set in Dominican Republic. Sorry to hear that. Yeah. And no, it's totally fine to bring that kind of stuff up. It's been pretty crappy the last couple of days. We had a helicopter crash yesterday. We had an airplane crash today in the water, and then we had that.
Really?
So yeah, it's been pretty rough. I mean, we hear it's rough because the algorithm feeds you that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, sorry to hear that,
What were you
Danny.
saying about... I kind of lost track of what we were saying. Switch 2, right?
Switch 2.
Switch. Yeah. So are you thinking of getting one?
I was going to ask you. I was just going to say I don't mind the price. People in chat, what do you think of the price? Like, what do you think of the price? You've now pre-ordered it. You've spent your money. That money's gone forever. What do you think of the price?
So I think it cost me around £400 with the Mario Kart game too. So I thought that was a pretty solid deal. Based on everything I've seen, like the screen seems to look a lot better, even though it's not OLED and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the better dock that gives you access to like upscaling to 4K is going to be, especially for me, really nice because I do like to play docked quite a bit on my TV.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. And
Ignore
everything I'm seeing,
they're agreeing with this entire thing.
Yeah.
Baron's like, dude, I agree with you.
The one thing that worries me is the pricing on sorry, ignore that. Someone at the door.
Oh, okay. No worries. Do you have to get it?
No, I don't need to get that.
Okay.
I'm not expecting anybody.
All right.
The pricing on the games does seem worrying. I think, like, to me, I'm going to think more than twice, right? Like, to get a game.
Yeah.
And they also don't do sales, especially on newer games. So it's going to be rough for sure. What's really attractive, though, is all the games from Switch 1 that I'm going to be able to play. And some that I never really fully got into, like Tears of the Kingdom. I didn't get that deep into it, so it would be cool to have a second go at it and play in a much better. Because I don't know if you remember, every time you would bring up the hand, what was it called? The hand thing in Tears of the Kingdom.
Sorry. Yes, the hand, the interactive with the world.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
It would kind of go down in FPS immediately. It was a very replicable thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So stuff like that, super exciting. I want to see a lot of games have a Switch 2 version. Like I always mention Chronicles, Xenoblade Chronicles. Love that game. Would love to continue my playthrough in better detail. So there's a lot there to be excited about. And the fact that, like we said, a lot of third-party games are going to be coming out on Switch. Of course, they're going to be more expensive, potentially, when you compare it to PC. But if there are some really solid games to play on handheld, I might choose to play on that instead of my Steam Deck, for example. Or at least it will be nice to have the option. So I'm excited for it overall, and I think for the price, the console itself seems like a fair price, actually, for what we're getting.
Yeah, so I have no issue with the price of the console.
I think so, yeah.
It's a bigger screen, all that kind of stuff. I look at what we're getting for Windows, which I have all the Windows devices. You look at those, you look at tablets. That price is the price that I was told last March. It was $450. That's the price that I've stuck with because the person I talked to seemed like there was sort of a line drawn in the sand. So you get this system, ignoring tariffs for a second, which I know you can't, but I'm just saying as we talk about this particular system. I would say when you look at the Switch, you look at what you get, you look at $450, you don't have to buy into whatever they pack in they have, but if you do, you get a game for about $20 off if you buy it as a package. I think it's $500. So the normally $70, $80 game is around $50. I just feel like we have this discussion. I'm not done with the discussion because we're a discussion podcast and I'll do videos about it, but I do feel like this is the same discussion I feel I've personally had since probably the 360 when backwards compatibility went to software mode and they used the patches to allow you to do the Xbox original. I just feel like every single time we have a new system, the same questions and the exact same situations always pop up, and people want a hard, fast rule, and it is never going to happen. It's not going to happen because we went from physical to digital. We went from different device styles to different device styles. We went from offline primarily to online primarily. Yeah. But the idea that you want every company to do an exact line in the sand, the fact that they don't is the free economy that we allow, and that is sort of there in particular for us to react with our wallets in the way that we want to do, or indicate at least that we do or don't feel a game is worth it. It's the same conversation, man. Backwards compatibility, paid, unpaid. We had somebody talking about the cartridges. They've got a code inside. Listen, I get that. I understand why people are bothered because I can't sit here and say newcomers come into gaming all the time. How can you be bothered by that? It's been happening for a while. I get both sides. Newcomers who haven't had to deal with it like I did, where I would buy a game, open it up, and it was a slip of paper, and I was all, okay. There used to be manuals in games. Those went away. I had to deal with that. All this kind of stuff is sort of repetitive every gen. I do want to say I think Nintendo's done a good job with the naming and the style. They didn't change too much. Instead, what they did was they added elements of customization that don't affect the base Switch 1 style of gaming. The mouse isn't some extra thing like the Legions where you take it off and you use it like a PS controller, which I have no issue with. I'm just saying familiarity works. Yeah. And they're like, hey, bigger, faster, and more expensive. But
same interface, same interaction you're used to. Yeah. With some extra.
With some extra, with some voice chat. They found out what voice chat was, and
Yeah, they found the internet button.
Yeah. Then they found the microtransaction button because you have to pay for it after the free specific amount of time.
You even have to pay for the tour thing.
We are now in the future, microtransactions behind buttons on a controller, but
yeah,
that part sucks. But for the base console, that price doesn't bother me so much.
The only redeeming factor in that is that their subscription is the cheapest by far compared to any console. Like,
it also give you the least so far, though? Because it gives you like cloud saves, right, or something.
Yes, like, and maybe a warm fuzzy feeling.
Maybe a warm feeling for being in the ecosystem. Like I paid in, like if you were a jackass and paid to like some YouTuber who did a Discord or YouTube reviews, you'd be like, Jesus Christ,
it's along those lines.
Something along almost exactly the same amount of grift.
Yeah,
between those two.
It gives you some stuff. I think it may give you access to like some better purchasing options for games. Like I know you can buy these vouchers where it's basically a voucher for 2 games, and you can then spend on any game. And sometimes you can buy the voucher for a lower value than what the cost of like a full game would be.
Not bad.
And I think if you're a subscriber, sometimes you can get those at a better price. At least I seem to remember having that happen to me. So maybe there's something there. But certainly the only thing is like paying cost of servers, right? Being able to play online and stuff, pretty much.
So this split for the poll for Switch 2 consoles right down the middle. We have basically okay, just it's okay. Like it's sort of where we expected. Then 22% say good, 25% say bad. That is hilarious. Right. That is as equal as any like one poll.
Around 75% think is okay or better.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, positive. Because I thought it was going to be a bit more negative, actually.
Well, I think that's also because I made sure to state we're only talking about base console price. Like, really for what you get. And then when you look at the competition.
I don't know about you, but my prediction is that pretty much everybody else outside of Nintendo will stick to the current prices. I don't see other companies matching the 80 price point anytime soon.
I mean, so Switch has always had the cart tax, cartridge tax. I don't quite see it. I already see them. I would say there is no real price anymore. The honest truth is, I would say the last 15 to 20 games I've purchased, there has never been one price for the game that I can remember. There has been a price, then there's an early access price. There's a price for a deluxe version. So, and I could be wrong. There might be 1 or 2 games that I have bought that did have one single price. But currently what I've been seeing is there's almost always 2 tiers in every game now. Even the cheaper games. Like even I've seen one that was $29.99, but it was also $49.99 for like early access or something like that. It was like there was some other thing. It just feels like every company's doing it a different way, and even within the same company they're doing it a different way, which that's free economy. That's how the market works, and then we have to decide if it's worth it or not. But for the hardware, $450, whatever, I'm fine. Also, I feel like it's not ready though. I feel like the software in
what sense?
I feel like we're going to get an alert news or a discussion about features that either we expect to be there day one and aren't, or that they're going to promise some software features, because they didn't talk about much. It felt to me like they have a bare bones OS that's just running. They got chat in there, which is great. But it felt like there wasn't a lot. And I just have a feeling, I haven't looked, maybe they've already discussed this, but I have a feeling we're going to start hearing a lot about like software promises from them when it comes to the OS, when it comes to the Switch. Because especially if you listen to how they talked about it, you listen to the things they added, there's a lot of stuff other systems have that they don't, that you're like, well, they've got a camera, they record you at 4 FPS with your friends. But that goes to show you, I want to point this out. If that's the finalized software and it's that bad, then there's probably a good amount of things behind the scenes that aren't even worth showing right now that they want to do. Little things. It doesn't mean, I'm not talking about like it's going to transform your house, you're going to wear it on your fucking face. I'm just saying I have a feeling that OS is probably pretty bare bones.
Are you thinking of getting the camera? the Switch camera.
I don't quite. I didn't get the exercise band either. I didn't get I didn't get a Labo. I didn't get.
Yes.
I don't get all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah,
by the way, if somebody else gets them and likes
person.
them, I'll listen to them.
No,
talk
no
about
issue.
it. Yeah.
But it is a certain type of person who likes to do all those.
And a certain type of person who jumps into VR, right? Like it's all, it's always one of those. Dev Guy says, going through Xenoblade games right now. I got corrupted by Bitlerist and Xenoblade X Remaster. Packy says, I believe the cost is for Switch 2 specific upgrades of Switch games. Oh, he's talking about, the backwards compatibility. Let's see. The Last of Us 2. Somebody's playing Monster Hunter Wilds. Last of Us 2, a lot of people have been playing. Like the last couple days. Feels like The Last of Us 2 is...
Oh, yeah, the remaster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, those games look great, man. But they already looked great, so... I did find the first one, not this one, the part 1, got a pretty good PC remaster. Not initially, but once they fixed the initial problems, I think it's still one of the best looking PC games I've played. Very, very impressive.
On the Switch, sharp. That's the only Xenoblade Chronicles. Really aliased, but definitely enjoyable. I like those games for the most part. I don't know if I want to finish very many of them, but I guess that's just sort of the way it is. Stelio Fax says, salute ACG company, but he also says, I just finished South of Midnight on my way back to Shadows. Yeah, there's been a lot of people, man. A lot of people coming in here and talking about South of Midnight, so it's very cool to see people enjoying it. Luckily, I guess I didn't pick up that there was issues with the protagonist or anything like that. I didn't even really get that many comments on the video. Maybe that's calmed down. Maybe after Shadows, the big bad guy of all this shit sort of came and went. But I liked it. I do think that these games, we talk about price and free market and stuff like that. I do think one of the biggest issues right now with games is like the AA linear game like that. A game that walks you from start to finish. A Hellblade 2. A South of Midnight. Any of those kind of games, even if they're long, when they lack that replayability, I feel like there's, like that's going to be the rough spot to be in the next 5-10 years. I feel like the next 5-10 years, those are the guys who are going to have to really sell you on their game. Even though you and I will be like, hey, it's great to have a shorter game. I review games, and I'm a different style of person in how much I play. And you like your own certain things. But I think most of the time what you hear is that, people are looking at the amount of time they can spend, if it's good, all that kind of stuff. And at some point when you have 10 games that are replayable and good, and you have 10 games that aren't replayable and good, humans have a tendency to go towards value. There's a little slip towards value there and go, well, okay, then if it's replayable and good, I might want to return to it. I've played unreplayable games before.
Yeah.
I've done that too.
It's interesting. I almost have I almost cherish a first playthrough of a non-replayable
game. Yeah.
Yeah. No way. It's just.
Do you know why, dude? Because exactly, and you're like, whatever I'm going to experience is almost, it's not up to me, but it sort of is not up to me. Yeah. It's like, I'm going to go through this, and I get it. Like, people are like, oh, Hellblade, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, listen, I don't care. I went to a movie. I can't control the fucking movie either. But with this game that goes even longer and has some combat and some interactivity, I see the value in that as a different style of game. Like, to me, that's awesome. I agree with what you say. I love that feeling, man. Those are awesome. That first time you go in and that everything will be delivered at their speed, like their pacing, which, by the way, was my problem with South of Midnight, was the pacing fell off at the end. It's like,
right.
So which is the way it happens. But I couldn't artificially change that style of pacing because that was what was, built into the game.
Yeah, I think what they did with music, because I did watch quite a bit. I haven't played myself, but I did watch quite a bit of it. What they did with music, making it based on bosses and like directly influenced by what's going on, that seemed very special. I would love to see done more.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
It's like singing about the boss, or something thematically connected. Very cool.
Yeah, that's some of the best and also most off-putting musical work I've enjoyed in a game. It's so off-putting and so amazing at the same time. It's almost like if you're ever a young person, you're walking around or whatever, and you see somebody that your brain is like, maybe there's something about them that's attractive, but they're also not attractive to you for some way. There's something there's a push-pull there that's occurring that to me actually makes a little bit more interesting. Speaking of that, what have you been playing this week? Anybody in chat, what have you been playing?
It's been a mix, really. Some AC Shadows, some
answered, but
First Berserker.
And
today I actually played a bit of Drive Loop, which is that Survivor style car game.
I have 17 hours in it. Yeah.
Damn, okay. Yeah, so you've played way more than I was just, digging into the surface there, but it's fun, man. It's got some cool upgrades and stuff.
It's got some cool upgrades, and I love the fact that at some point, so people understand this is it's called Drive Loop Survivors. It's a top-down, slightly bullet hell shooter, Mad Max. You have a couple of cars you start out with. They have some starting weapons. You level up the car mainly, which means it can start up with different weapons right from the start, which is a separate upgrade from inside of the level, which is where you level up by killing enemies and collecting their glowy, fleshy soul orbs, whatever. But what I like, first of all, auto shooting, obviously, right? You didn't try to shoot on your own. Yeah, okay. I don't even know why that's an option in the game. So
exactly.
So you're driving around in this game, you're shooting all these mutants. What's cool about Drive Clubs or Drive Loop Survivors is they figured something out. It's not always bullet hell. I found out about the middle way through the map. I was like, wait a minute. I've been driving at full speed, which is much more difficult to control, but easier to shoot through a gap. So what I did was I started slowing way down and corralling enemies by using, I got the saw blades special power. Then I got the light bar special power. Then I got the globe special power. And what I found was just driving around the edges and letting it auto attack.
Group them up.
Yeah, I would, I would go with them. If they flocked a little this way, I would adjust and then I sometimes would be like, I think guys are coming up from the bottom. And so I twist around, and once you get the ability to do burning tires, where you do, so that people understand you're doing a cookie, you're doing like a 360, fire comes off the back, and every time you level up, you get a new upgrade. It can be a new item or a level up for your item. So by the time I was done, the flames were almost the width of the screen, and they would kill everybody. And then I changed my entire gameplay and sat for like 3 minutes in a row, just seeing how long I could live. And then I got Soul Leech, so you get a little health from everybody. So I was just, and then the game has hot air balloons that come down occasionally, and they drop off a crew. And one of the crew members will have a shotgun, a sniper rifle, grenade, flame, Molotov. I said machine gun.
Sniper, shotgun.
Yeah, so sniper, shotgun, machine gun, 5 of them at least. And
Grenades.
they get in the car. You stop, they get in, then you find another one later. That guy stops, gets in, and they're all together. But one of them doesn't leave. So by the time you're done, you have a Molotov grenade throwing, rootin' scootin' shooting, fire throwing car that can suck the life from enemies. And it's just fun.
True.
It's just fun.
Life sucking.
Yeah.
Everything obliterating.
Dude, I had a good time. I played it on the Legion, just sat back and was like, I just puttered around.
That is a good portable game, too.
Yeah, it's a good portable game. And it's early access, so that everybody knows. But what's there, price-wise, I don't know. What
it was like $8 for me.
Yeah.
It was. I felt they do have an offer right now.
They gave me a code, and I was scheduled for Commandos, and Commandos was difficult to get through. There was a lot of problems with Commandos, so didn't get a chance to cover it. I wish I had, because Drive Loop really is absolutely awesome. It's only on Steam though, right? I haven't seen any.
It is.
Yeah,
I believe so.
What's up, Lucitan? Yeah, I think it's only on Steam, but so
did you find that every run you did was pretty different, or did you find yourself going towards like the same upgrades usually?
I would say a fourth. So of the 14 hours, like 3.5, I chose to do the tires, and stay away from enemies and do sniper. And then after a while, I chose to go slower and use the stuff that gathers around you and does damage. And then later I tried to do all the quests. I guess you wouldn't even call them quests, but the little globe, the sonic ring you're supposed to drive through. It'll give you a random challenge. And it's like, drive through all these rings. I tried to do that a couple times. I did, got some experience for that. And then by the end, I would say it was a mixture, but I had leveled up the car. And because you level up the car, you get that basic weapon you get is massively powerful. So you don't even need the side weapons at first until the end of the level or near the end of the level. And boy, I'll tell you, man, it gets crunchy. That thing has a lot of enemies at the end of the level. I mean, it's basically like We Were Billions almost, in a way. It was just,
just a full screen at some point.
And they transform. Did you notice that? They'll start transforming into the spider guys. So at the end, it'll be these arachnid robot things and they're moving at 6,000 times the speed of light. And you're just like, oh my God, this is killing me. There's so many. So yeah. What about you? Like, what was was there a weapon that you?
I tried a bunch of different things. The ones that I liked most were the AoE, like the area stuff. So the saw blades were great, the lasers, the stuff. I kind of did something similar to what you described, which was trying to group them up and then like shave the side of the
it was so
crowd,
nice. That's exactly right. That is what it was shaven. Just being like, yeah, dude. That's so funny. We played that way.
It's good. Yeah.
And it's crazy because it changed up, right? Like they never said to play that way. It's just that as you're playing, especially when you get
I just noticed what you said, which is if you're not just going in a straight line, they start to bunch up in a group. Yeah. And then, naturally.
And also the fact that speeding up is, I mean, it's actually, you can smash your car and going in reverse back through a group of guys is almost always death, I found.
Yeah, most of the time. Maybe get stuck. Get hit by a bunch of stuff.
I do dislike two things about it. One, they need a little disclaimer at the starting to just say what your car level is versus your levels inside the game. Because you'd see 1, 5, 10, 15 when you start the game, and then you go into the level and you're at 15, you go back out and your car's still at 1, and you're like, guys, what? The other thing is they didn't explain ramming very well. So, like, if you listen, you hear a body get hit by a car if you got hit. You hear like boom. That's when you got hit. But if you ram, even without the power, there are ways if you ram right in the center to not indicate that sound. You don't lose life. But they don't tell you that. So the only time I was ramming was when I got the power to ram.
See, I was so confused by that. I thought that ramming meant I was always going to take damage. So I never took those power-ups because I thought,
there you go.
Dude, I'm just going to take a bunch of damage.
That just proved the point, right? They just need a little hot tip / disclaimer. Just a bop, and be like, hey, here. You know, almost like when you go into the game, freeze the game. Here's your HUD. Here's this, because that was the other thing. The turbo looks like a gun. The icon for the turbo, and I was like, what is that? And I kept hitting it and flying around going, what? And then I realized it's a muffler, but it's only the barrel of the muffler, the end pipe of the muffler.
Yeah,
and I was like,
it literally looks like a big ass cannon or something.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not killing anybody with this thing, So that was good.
Some stuff not too intuitive, and I'm sure lack of variety is gonna come into play.
Sure,
being early access and stuff.
Yeah,
they're gonna work on that.
Yeah. What else you been playing?
I've been playing the first Berserker of Kazan, which has been a really fun game too. It's an incredibly hard game. I think I told you normal mode is really hard mode. So anyone playing that, if you're finding it really grueling, I actually recommend bump it down to easy. You're probably gonna have much more fun in the game because the boss HP bars are so inflated. It literally you're the Berserker, but you die in 2 hits and you are tickling bosses, just tickling their genitals, Carrick.
I like it.
So a boss fight
you got me
will
in
take
I'm listening. You got me.
Will take 10 minutes where you have to be parrying perfectly, right? If you get hit twice, usually you'll die. and you have to keep sequencing perfectly, almost pretty much, perfectly, and executing combos and everything. What's super cool though is the implementation of the weapons, man. I've never seen a great sword that feels so fast, powerful like this. The combos feel amazing, and you also have the ability to trade
This is
blows.
first Berserker.
Yeah, the first Berserker of Kazan. Yeah.
Anyway,
you have the ability to like charge blows and do these massive hits with the great sword. And at some point, if they hit you at the end of the charge, you'll still go through with the attack. So you'll take some damage, but you'll deal massive damage in return. And then combining that with like parries and abilities and everything, it feels like you can be hitting the boss continuously, which is super awesome. It's unlike any other Souls in that sense, because Souls for a lot of them is much more of a reactive game and waiting for your turn sometimes, that type of thing. But it's much more like Neo, but I would argue even more, taking the aggression even higher. And if you don't do that, if you try to play the passive reactive way, you're just not really going to get through the health bars of bosses. So yeah, a bit of a maybe a mixed game for some people, depending on how much you enjoy it. But I would say that don't doubt in switching to easy if you're finding it a bit too grueling. You can always do a follow-up playthrough in normal mode. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
We're definitely getting so many of these games that it's like the only difference other than graphics is like just sort of what you said. It's like how much damage do you do, and then your play style from that point on. It's like here, you don't do a bunch of damage, so you have to do this, and like you said, it's super hard. Then you get other ones that sort of roll the hardness back onto the bonfire part so that it's not too difficult, but if you die, there's a penalty for that. There's so many different ones. It's pretty nice. It also can get quite confusing. I'm going to be honest, I can't even remember the game I reviewed the name of, but it had 4 Dark Souls style characters that each time you collected their soul, you could transform into them.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, and they really tried, man. There were some really good ideas. It needed a year more probably, and maybe some talent in different places, but obviously tried. Then you got Surge 1 and 2, completely different style. You have Lords of the Fallen. Like and then every day I feel like there's a new one coming out where you're just like, okay, we're going to try it this way. Black Myth, obviously. Wulong.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I would say that this one stands up there with some of the best that I've played. Once you understand like the aggression thing, then the HP bars feel much more fair and balanced because you're dealing a lot of damage too. But I would say, yeah, just the learning curve is pretty rough on it. If you can get past it, it can be super good. And I would put it up there with like Lies of P in terms of quality. Not on different things. Each of them are good at different things.
Yeah, right.
Like level design and stuff, not really a highlight in this one, but it is held up by boss designs and the weapon implementations, how smooth, responsive it feels. Yeah.
Yeah, there's also Steel Rising, which was the robotic automaton one.
Oh, yes. And there was another one recently called AI Limit.
AI Limit.
Soulslike. Yeah. I think that one was a bit more forgettable based on everything I've seen. But yeah, like you said, there are a lot of them. And so I've become, I would say, pretty picky with them. That there has to be something that grabs me. Like this one was the combos and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guy says, I've been trying to get into Hitman with World of Assassination, but knowing which version to get is like reading through a giant spreadsheet of what content you own and which version includes what. Wonder if you all have experienced this issue. So every single person has who've jumped into the new Hitman. I believe what you want is, and if I remember right, it's called like the World of Assassination pack, or there is one there. The big problem is if you have other stuff, you might try to piecemeal it. But I think we broke it down a couple months ago when we were jumping back into it, and it actually made sense to not try to piecemeal it unless you already owned a ton, and to just go with like the you now get everything pack, if I remember right, because
Yeah.
World of Assassination is tough. There were so many things going on, and it's the only game I've seen in a long time where when you bought the third game, I believe it's the third one, you could then the weapons then worked in the first and second game, which was sort of mind blowing for people. They were like, "Wait, what the fuck?" Like that's awesome, that you can go back in time with that. So it's just one of those things. Definitely difficult. You could always ask ChatGPT too. I mean, or because it'll just search on Reddit, or you could type it into Google. But it is very difficult. I do believe most of us figured out just buying a complete pack was the best bet. I could be wrong on that. I feel like it was World of Assassination because I know Silver and I played it a bunch. Danny, Kazan is awesome, polished combat and bosses fire. $2 super chat. Thank you very much for the super chat. Appreciate it big time, Danny. Remember, you guys can, if you decide you want to jump into the Discord, you can do that via becoming a member here as well. I want to thank all the members too.
By the way, I have a couple things from AC that I wanted to bring up. AC Shadows.
Hang on.
Sorry.
One of the things I want to do about the Discord is I wanted to add that lately, in the last couple days, we've added a YouTube council in our Discord. Well, they're not all in the Discord, but we've added some people in there who are going to help me in the future with reviewing games like Johnny has, NDA stuff, technical stuff on the back end, because we are making some changes to the channels. Nothing, not stopping reviews or anything. But we're doing some stuff like that, so I want to say how much I appreciate some of those guys. We're not really giving them official mod statuses or anything, because it's not like that. But you guys, if you're in the Discord, you might see us playing games. You might see us talking about certain things, and it's because like a lot of those people in the last 5-6 years have stood up and helped out the channel. Most people wouldn't be surprised by who the members are when you see, some people and how much they give back to the channel, even though they pay. Which is very cool. So I just want to say thanks to those guys. Thanks to all the members. What were you going to say?
Awesome. Yeah, sorry to cut you off.
No, that's fine.
Just about AC Shadows that I've been playing this week and enjoying quite a lot. I did find a couple of things pretty annoying. And I don't know if it's the way I'm playing or something, but there is kind of like a lack of checkpoints sometimes. I've found that I might be just because I don't really fast travel. So right. I just, ride to places. And then I get there. Let's say something goes wrong. I'm playing an expert. So sometimes I just get smoked and I die. And then it reloads like all the way back from where I started my journey. So now I have to leg it it doesn't really save at the location I've arrived at. And it's been very consistent that. And there isn't a quick save button. Someone tell me if there is. I haven't found one. So you literally have to go into the menu, which is slow as hell, as every other AC game, and then do a manual save if you want to create a checkpoint for yourself. So I found that really annoying in expert because you never know when you're going to run into a powerful group of enemies and get smoked. Even just out in the world sometimes.
Ooh, my light went out. Yeah, I think the thing to remember with AC is that if it autosaves at the wrong time, you're screwed. And if it autosaves at not as often, you're screwed, but at least you probably caused it or were involved in it. And I think that they hedged on the easiness of it and making it just work, and then you sort of have to deal with the shitty consequences. I'm going to plug this in. What are you thinking of Shadows overall?
I like it overall. I'm doing expert mode with the guidance thing on, so using scouts and fast travel. No, not fast traveling. Like horse traveling everywhere. It's been pretty good. I'm taking it very slow, but I like it. Pretty much every mission I'm switching between Naue and Yasuke to explore the different styles. And I'm having to really put a lot of effort into the stealth because I'm very used to easier stealth, and in expert, people will just smell you. It's like, dude, the efficiency of the guards is incredible. So I love definitely it. Still like learning the systems and everything. but I like it.
Yeah, it's they're definitely a lot of, it's nice to have got out of all the stupid discussion that was going on around that game. It was just like at some point I was just so, even if I believe something really hard, after a while you'll notice with me, I'm just like, okay, now we're done with that, right? Like I can't, unless I'm going to become a fucking protester about a particular thing in a game and just start going to events and staging riots and putting up barricades, at some point I have to move on. And with that game, it's nice to see a lot of the sort of the weird ass shit that was going on with that game on both sides. We now have a position where people can play it. And the number of people who like Shadows and are saying it's their favorite of all of the AC games is way higher than I expected. And I don't mean expectations as in I played it, I don't agree with them. I'm just saying that's just quite interesting. And a lot of them poke the game for particular things, but when it's said and done, what they ended up liking was just the stealth, the combat, the feel of the two. The thing that especially I noticed with an initial critique was like, oh, this person can't do all this, so I don't want to be them. Or this person isn't fun because they die too quick. I don't want to be them. And what I've noticed is that the people who are still playing that game are getting the replayability I expected from two protagonists. Truly two protagonists. There is a massive amount. And I just a couple days ago, somebody was like, they had played 29 hours, mostly as her, and they finally were like, okay, I'm going to switch for a little bit. I've got her sort of leveled up. And all of a sudden, it was like 19 hours again in a row with just him. And they were like, what? Fuck, this is like, it feels so different.
Fresh.
It's great.
It's different.
Yeah. And I can do all this other stuff and then switch them out. Nice to see. Like that makes me happy.
I mean, like the feeling of threat in expert mode. I really think,
I love
like you said, that's probably the best, because you really have to engage with it, and you get the sense with Naue, you get the sense of like really pick your battles, because unless you're over leveled, like if you get into a courtyard with a bunch of people and even ranged enemies and everything, like you can win if you're very good, very solid with your parries and everything, but realistically, it's not a good,
it's hard to parry if they have guns.
Yasuke, yeah, exactly. Can you parry at all, like ranged stuff?
Yeah. You with his, he can knock blades away. I can't remember if he can knock bullets away, like if he can do the like cutting a bullet.
Okay, I haven't even tried.
Yeah.
Now that I think about
one of his skills was knocking arrows, I believe, out of the way.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
With him, I just feel like, man, I'm going in. I'm like Rambo. I'll take the shortest route, attract the most enemies at once, and just go to town. Feels good.
Yeah, I played them a little different. I played him a little quicker with less focus attacks or posture attacks because he already breaks the enemy's posture on the fourth hit of the combo automatically. So you can do it if you want and break it on the first. But what I found out was instead I went a weird mini-max, not even mini-max, it actually would be averaging. But instead of doing him being power, so I'm going to do posture attacks with him and kill people, super quickly that way, I treated him as a guy who didn't want to get hit very much. So I was actually very, not defensive, but very quick in and out with him because I always knew there was the other way I could go. And then with her, I admit the last, I played a couple days ago, and when we were streaming, and I was like almost fully just going balls to the wall with her. I got the Kirisagama, which does poison damage.
Nice.
And once you hit a couple people, they're puking and they're yakking, and you're just hitting everybody else, and shit's exploding around you. And I was like, that's a game. That's a game,
awesome,
right?
Man.
Sometimes you don't need the world to change because of a title. Sometimes it's a game. I saw
it's just fun.
We were teasing the shit out of an article this morning that came out that was like, of all the games that have, climbable terrain, Assassin's Creed, is the one that shouldn't have it. And the article boiled down to the fact that actually it should have it because it's an issue everybody knows about, hasn't been fixed. But it was a very typical clickbait. They needed to put Ubisoft in the article because that's currently hot. They needed to put a problem in the, all this normal shit. But I was laughing at it because Void and I were joking. As the world gets more realistic in video games, it gets more realistic in video games. Meaning, just like in real life, you can't climb everything and you don't know if you can until you try, right? Like that's how the world works. So The one game that we both remembered right away that let you turn this shit off was Tomb Raider Shadows. That game let you turn that off, and it was like living in a world made of just upside down lawnmowers. I got killed I was like, I'm going all in, man. I'm turning all the climb, information off. I played this game enough. I sort of know what to look for, and even I was like, whoa. No, what the fuck?
Compilation.
Yeah, it was pretty gnarly. But I get where people want a change. I think that for the most part, we've seen it. We've seen companies do other things. I think climbing in particular is difficult because you're not looking at a third-person pic or a 3D picture. You're looking at a 2D picture. And no matter what, until everybody's wearing 3D glasses, a ledge that's above you, especially above equal height where both eyes have equal horizon, they're up here seeing what's on the other edge, seeing the depth of a rock over here to tell you that's probably climbable. It's going to be difficult. I don't see it happening anytime soon.
And some stuff like with diagonal inputs is a bit awkward.
Assassin's Creed.
If you're parkouring, like sometimes instead of jumping where you want to jump, it will kind of jump completely off.
Kinda?
Yeah, sometimes. Overall, it works pretty well.
Yeah.
And it's also a bit skillful. You have to learn this type of ledge is, the character interacts this way. So it is also something you get better at. Did you want more ninja stuff? Like being able to hang on the roof, like on the ceiling, on the underside of the ceiling, maybe like the ninjas in movies where you're just like hanging there waiting for someone to come by, being invisible, more like being invisible stuff like they do in the movies.
So there's ninja and there's shinobi, right? And then there's Ronin and there's samurai, even though again all of them have general skills.
There's some overlap.
There's overlap. There's overlap in skills. There's why a samurai becomes a Ronin, that kind of stuff. But shinobi versus assassin, and like you look at Sekiro, which the shinobi was the magical part, right? Truly magic.
Yep.
There's already magic in this game technically by how some of the stuff works. But I would say overall, when I saw that character, I thought if she was indoctrinated at birth, maybe, but she really wasn't, or it didn't really play that off as her being like super serious about it until later events in her life, or middle events, or young teen events in her life. So I guess I just didn't take it as like she was a true ninja. And even the other characters that were trained like her, other than using smoke bombs, which you can use, they fit the Assassin's Creed ethos. They don't fit the ninja. Do you get what I'm saying? So she's called a samurai, or she's called a shinobi / ninja, whatever. But when you look at the way everything she's using, it still has to fit in the Assassin's Creed idea of what that would be, so that you can use the tools and stuff that we've seen in other games. So yeah.
And all of her training, like in the flashbacks, is much more about martial arts and
it's very much so
fighting, sword fighting, that type of stuff. Much more than
and
pure assassin.
A lot of it was based and a lot of it was based on more realistic training, which wasn't assassinations as much as it was if you're a peasant and you have to defend yourself from somebody who has a sword. And you've got a sword or you don't have a sword. So it sort of worked out. Jay Reaper, $5, first time catching the pod live in a minute. Let's go. What's up, Jay? Hope you're doing well. I thought for a second it said first time hitting it live, and I was like, what a smart ass. I was like, that's funny. Eternal says, I was surprised at the steep hills that I could go up as no way. I would also say the other way is there's a lot of places you can't go in that game. Like that's got one of the most dense forests outside of Avatar from Ubisoft as well, that you're running around going.
But I found it so nice to explore those really dense areas. I would climb up a hill and then you would see just dense forest.
Yeah.
And you can walk through a lot of it too. Like some places, like you said, you just won't be able to go. But even some really, really dense forest, you're able to run through.
I love just chopping the shit out of stuff with the sword, the bamboo. I found my first bamboo, like little field, and I was like, oh, you got to be able to chop this. That's
not
the thing.
Not a single bamboo standing.
Dude, the destruction in this game, it's not over the top. It could be higher, in fact, but I think John from Digital Foundry, when he was, he wasn't on because this would have been prior to that announced. I guess he was talking on his own. There's an overlap there, but he was saying like it's one of the few times you really see destructible sheet, destructible fabric. And when you walk up to the edge of one of those areas and you cut that tent and you bust in like the Kool-Aid man and you're just like, Kool-Aid man,
walls, man.
Motherfucker.
Well,
yeah.
Because they're not walls, they're just
right. But I'm talking about in particular the fabric, because the walls we've seen destructibility for, and that is great. But there's something about fabric being cuttable that makes me happy, because in the past, fabric would stop a grown 250-pound man.
Yes.
And you'd be like, wait, what? Like, you know, but you couldn't, the tech wasn't there. And so that first time you cut and you hear like a, and then you bust in is like, I want to do two shout outs real quick. Zaxby says, can my mom get a shout out? She turned 70, raised 5 boys while my dad worked 2 jobs. Amazing woman. She is an amazing woman. I do love that you asked for your mom to be shouted out, even though your dad also worked 2 jobs. But I just want to say, hey, you know, sexism is alive and well. I'm just joking. No, that's awesome. Hope to see you in Discord a little bit later. And then somebody else said, can my dog get a shout out? He's 98 in dog years.
Damn.
Man, he's mauled in total, apparently, 4 home invaders, and is generally a good boy. He's generally a good boy. Dude, they were probably friends of yours, and once he mauled him, he's like, home invader. That way the dog won't be put down. That's the smartest way to do it. Smartest way to do it.
Wow.
Yeah, dark. We went dark. But forests are dense and vast, Eternal says. Yeah, some great stuff in there, man. I'm glad to see it. I have been...
Yeah, the weather stuff is awesome, man.
Yeah.
I'm still amazed.
Are we done with you, what you've been playing?
I think, yeah, that's pretty much it. Playing some League too. You know, keeping the competitive edge in there.
And I have been playing teach myself a bunch of shit. So taught myself, like I said, Docker, taught myself a bunch of Linux to get that set up 2 servers, switched out all the Cat5 cable, all the network cables. This was after Commandos, and redid all my wiring in the house, which is pretty nice. What did have a bad cable, though, Reg has one too. I talked to him yesterday, and he's like, I have a cable here that looks like it's getting like 5 megs a second. Like something's wrong. That's what I had. I didn't realize how slow my system was until I switched out all this cabling and did all that, taught myself a bunch of stuff, which was very fun to do, and learned a bit about other operating systems and how much I still dislike them. But it was nice to be able to. It was nice to be able to teach myself. They're customizable, lean to the machine kind of programming is what I grew up on, and I absolutely cherish that idea. But the usability is absolutely not there until you turn around and add something for it to be there, which then you end up in the same overall issue as everybody else. Always be cooking. PLN 22. This is $5 equivalent, including 10% tariff from the EU. Thank you very much. Always be cooking. Hoping you're doing well. Yeah. Well, the tariffs, hey, they got dropped from everywhere but China. I know that we talked about this about 4 or 5 weeks ago, but multiple companies have used places in Thailand and Vietnam, I believe, and it sounds like Nintendo had been doing that as well. Prior to the tariffs, but it looks like the tariffs are dropped for everybody but China for 90 days. We saw some companies stop selling too. Wasn't it? Was it Razer, Lenovo, HP? Somebody dropped. Those are all the same company. Yeah, right. Yeah, I think those are all under the same umbrella. I could be wrong. A couple of those are, but yeah. I did hear that one of them did drop. Yeah, just stopped selling for a while. So we'll have to see. But yeah, man, did you see some of those tariff levels that they were at? Or like 70%, 80%.
It was getting crazy.
China's at one. China's stuck there. They're at 125, 130, 145. I don't know. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be
it was so intense, the volatility of everything, that this week in my company we had an emergency moratorium, which means you're forbidden releasing any changes or anything.
Oh,
just because the market instability. So if just reduce cases of instability of you having a bug, you having an issue affecting clients.
Yeah.
Because stock was just
I'm glad they dropped.
Up and down.
I think that especially when you look at them dropping, didn't go away, but when you look at them dropping, at least we can move forward somewhat naturally until we figure out, where the continued level will be. But seeing them drop is good. Seeing them go away would be, well, it might be better. There are definitely places where there should have actually been a raise in tariffs regardless. The problem is now you lose that discussion because he rose it by like 8,000%.
Yep.
Like, hey,
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a tool, right? Like tariffs are good for some stuff, and there's new ones there.
And you want them in some cases, and you don't want them in others. Yeah. But I'm happy that for 90 days at least, people won't be as impacted in a lot of places. It's going to be weird to see these prices and how they all, what goes up and what goes down. It's also going to be interesting to see if any companies just do what you did and freeze stuff. Like, let me give you an example. If one of these companies was selling hardware, decided not to because of the huge raise, then the huge raise goes away for 90 days. Do they switch again?
Yeah.
That's tough, man. That's
super tough.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like that's a
because you have to make a long-term decision.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you're making a decision to start or stop supply in or outside of the US, that's not going to be something you can revert easily.
Yeah. Yeah, it was and it will continue to be a pretty ripping time. It was already going to be a ripping time no matter what things had changed because like the entire world is, I mean, dude, like post-COVID in particular is just like, fuck, everything's so screwed up. So now it's just doubly or triply screwed up. And all I care about is about anything else. I don't care if the price of eggs go up because I'll buy them. I got to get them. I'd like me some eggs.
We still got to buy eggs.
I like me some eggs. But damn, that fucking switches. Like you got to keep those at a good price we can all get. So,
yeah, the eggs we can deal with.
Yeah. But such is life. I've lived through this so many times. I've lived through crazy drops and stuff like lived through the housing crisis, lived through it and run. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I mean, you sort of have to, at some point, I have to just deal with it and figure my shit out. I made some plans just in case. I got my prepper bunker ready, got some MREs ready. They're old. I bought them cheap and used, so they're already out of one. No, I'm just joking. a bunch of expired
sometimes
MREs.
I don't know if you're joking.
I am totally joking. I am totally joking. Oregon Fresh says, I only believe in the cheese tax. Yeah, dude, that would suck.
That would suck. Yeah.
Eternal says we should raise our own chickens. Yeah. Yeah, true. Except they'd all fucking die. We just had somebody locally have theirs die. I don't think I'd want to raise chickens. They're pretty gross. Chickens are pretty gross. Just pooping everywhere. Like cleaning out a fucking hen house is pretty nasty. Moving on from there and back into games, though, for a little bit. We talked about Outer Worlds, talk a little bit about Switch 2. Not much else to talk about when it comes to those. I mean, I think we know for the most part. Some people are wondering who's making Donkey Kong. I don't know if you saw that. I guess the maker of Donkey Kong wasn't shown. And a lot of people are saying it feels like Mario Odyssey, or it looks like Mario Odyssey. Saw some people play it, some hands-on. They said it did feel like Mario, the Odyssey game. It felt a little too fast, which to me will probably be a little too slow, but still I'll probably enjoy it if they keep it at that speed. But I did hear that people were saying
the destruction looked so fun in that game.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Awesome.
And then the other game I was playing was Commandos. Yeah, so Commandos. It's buggy as fuck, man. I mean, it was so buggy. It was so buggy. It was so frustrating because the game's difficult anyway, but when your character decides they're going to spin around the enemy on the ground and just continually spin around them 360 without killing them, so you die and you have to reload, is so fucking frustrating. I feel like Dark Souls is the same way. Any game where the difficulty is really high and the penalization on the player is really paramount. Yeah. It's really high.
Especially if it feels like it's outside of your control like that, like, something bugged out or you didn't have a fair shot at surviving that.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Is that, if all of that is paramount on the player, the desire of QA and stuff like that should really be to make sure that if the player ends up dying, it's on them, so that way the frustration doesn't return back into the technical side, which is exactly what this did. There were so many bugs, man. Every time you'd reach down to grab somebody, they'd ragdoll, and you put them in a bush, and then they'd ragdoll around in the bush. And so 20 minutes later, in the middle of the mission, you'd hear the enemies throw an alarm. You'd be like, why are the enemies alarming? And you realize that this guy who was over in the corner was flipping around in the fucking bushes, and his foot must have come out of the bush while a guard walked by and alerted him far off and caused me to end up being attacked. That was really frustrating. Graphically, it was okay. It is the Commandos playstyle, which was fun. I will just say it was also, this is weird, man. It should have just been called Overwatch the game, because it's just Overwatches everywhere. So in a lot of games, you have one guy being Overwatch another guy. This one, dude, I remember sitting there for like 25 minutes looking at all the Overwatches in a spot and just being like, I don't think I can get through this. I think I actually have to I think I need to set the alarm off, because there is no way, there's nobody at speed who can get through this. Now, I'm not saying there isn't anybody. I'm just saying at the time I was playing, and just me, can't ask anybody any hints or whatever, there was a spot, there was like guy here who goes 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. 4 1,000. This guy goes slow. This guy goes slow. This guy up here was going slow. This guy up here was going slow. This guy here was going slow. And there was no space in the center that wasn't covered by at least one guy who was solid. And you couldn't get some characters behind those enemies to kill them. That was the other problem. Also, the game loves to do the craziest shit. You'll be like, oh man, I need to blow up this bridge. The guy who has the fucking explosives can't go in any of the shortcut ways to go. So you have to leave him there, take your guys all the way around, kill everybody. And it's not really stealth, because you're just slaughtering everybody. I mean, that's still stealth, but you know what I mean? You can't ghost. You can't like figure a way out with just diversions, and then have to call the guy to go blow the base up, which is as unstealthy as anything in the world. It missed on, I saw some people giving it I saw somebody give it a 3 out of 10. I was like, whoa, that might be, that's pretty harsh. But as a game, it did not work for me. There was a lot of idiosyncrasies. I ended up enjoying a lot of the stuff that was in the game that felt like the old Commandos, because I enjoyed those games, but it has new problems. It also had a lot of stutter. If you're moving your mouse back and forth across the level, you can get some stutter. Unreal Engine is what it's using, and it definitely feels, it felt that way. On the other hand, that thing on low can run on anything. I was running that thing on the portable systems, and it was running. And that was actually pretty cool, because I could see somebody, with a Legion or whatever. I wouldn't want to go with something smaller than an 8-inch screen with this game, because of the zoom, what you're dealing with when it comes to what you can see.
Yeah.
Also, the gamepad controls aren't the best, so I guess, maybe wait on that. But yeah, it is what it is. What are people teasing you about your headset?
Yeah, they're saying they look like waffle irons.
They're huge.
They're huge, to be fair. Yeah. But size matters, and the bigger
girthier
the cups. Yeah. Just the bigger the cups. There you go.
The bigger the cups. That could be.
I'll let people insert the rest of that.
Zenless Zone Zero is going to arrive on Xbox this June with in-game benefits for Game Pass Ultimate players. Wasn't aware of that. That just popped up today while we were in here. Ubisoft added achievements to Rayman Legends. Go ahead. What were we going to say?
Did Commandos have a nostalgic thing for you? Because you've played, I think, most of the others.
No, that's what I said earlier. Yeah, there were times where it felt like I had played, like I enjoyed that kind of thing. I just feel that there were too many issues, and if it's frustrating and hard, then the hard and the frustrating just become one thing. And after a while, I was like, man, this is just not as enjoyable as it should be. And then when you pull off something cool and the guy ragdolls, and by the way, this is not a one-off. This is all the time. So the guy's just doing a 360 motherfucking spin on the ground for the entire time. You're just like, dude, it pulls you out of it. Yeah, it pulls you out of it. It is what it is. But let's see, what else have I been playing? I did the same thing you did with Drive Loop Survivors. Enjoyed the hell out of that. Set up some stuff for some VR 3D attachments I'm getting for the Pico. Still my favorite, probably, right now, of VR. I don't do a ton of VR.
I saw you posted about the
Avatar?
VR mod for Avatar.
Holy shit, no, but I'm going to. Dude, that looks obviously it would look amazing, but Avatar is also insanely performant. So the idea of being able to do VR is not that crazy.
That
especially
jungle
with the mod.
is some of the best,
dude, it's nuts.
Environmental work. Yeah.
And by the way, let's say if a game is amazing as a first-person shooter, and then the mod for adding VR is good, I would honestly say I've never seen a game go down in VR. Like if the mod is good, it's always been even better than like Fallout 4, where I enjoyed Fallout 4 for what it was. I didn't love it. I mean, it wasn't like the best game, but I really liked it. I had a good time. But Fallout 4 VR was another level of amazing. That was just like, oh shit, a level of immersion not required through a 2D screen. So yeah, Avatar looks good. So Guy is saying, what's a system seller game for Switch 2 for you guys? Raymond, Rabbids 3. The Rabbids versus whatever. Mario versus Rabbids. That would be mine.
Yeah.
That would be
we talked about a new Mario, and a new Mario would be
Mario would definitely be a system seller. Yeah.
I think the Donkey Kong looks very good. It's not a system seller, but it is
not yet, but it's close to me because, dude, I mean, it looks. I'm just saying right now. Hey, if I'm wrong, I'll be wrong. But like, the more I watch it played, the more I'm like, that's got a magic to it that looks like it may be something that is like next level. Where in a year or two, we're sitting here going like, now we've got another, maybe not Mario 64, but at minimum above even a Mario Odyssey, which I know a lot of people who adore, like legitimately adore Mario Odyssey or Tears of the Kingdom, blah blah blah. It'd be great if it hit. It looks like it's going to. And the people who talked about it and some of the surprises they saw, that shit looked sweet. So Warpig says, I'd like Kingdom Come 2 in VR. Oh, not me, man. I would puke so much. Riding the horse or trying to fight in VR in that game, especially because you put your arms up all the time. I don't think my brain could handle it. You're a tougher man than I. I don't think I could do that. Looking here at all the questions we've got, I'm going to read through a couple of these. Ivana says, what's your guilty pleasure? Not game specific, but it could be a movie, a game, or a book, and it shouldn't be a genre overall, meaning it can't be reading. He said, for me, it's the book Magician. I read it twice a year and have done so for 40 years. And the movies Pump Up the Volume and Hackers. Oh, that's cool. Hackers. Damn. That's a callback. What's a guilty pleasure for you? One thing. A thing. So, but not a genre of things.
Okay. Can it be music?
Yes, it can.
I think some old emo music I still vibe to.
Breaking Benjamin.
Like some My Chemical Romance.
My Chemical Romance.
Breaking Benjamin is a more recent one that I got into them.
Oh, you're talking about I see.
Talking about like, Black Parade type stuff. Mm-hmm. I still vibe with it. I admit it.
Guilty pleasure.
Guilty is a weird one, right? Because why should you be guilty in a way?
Yeah, but I mean, I think it just means like almost overt pleasure, more than normal. Ooh. So like, which makes sense to me, because when you're talking about that, it's like, let's say you're listening to Breaking Benjamin, you might be like, oh, I really like this, but then you listen to My Chemical Romance and it's guilty pleasure, like something, like almost unexpected, more than normal pleasure, because the guilty part, I think that term doesn't make much sense anymore.
Somewhere in my brain, I view Breaking Benjamin as legitimately good music.
So do I. Yeah. So the guilty part,
My Chemical Romance, in a way, is much less sophisticated than that.
Yeah.
In a way that, like, I'm digging this, but maybe I shouldn't as much. So maybe that's why I think of guilty.
For me, it would be so it's okay. Well, you said like the older emo music, then you mentioned two, so I'll say probably David Gemmell books, a fantasy author, and probably Winter Warriors or Waylander, because I think I've read that probably well over 40
Rewatching
times.
Shows, maybe?
Well, I didn't want to say that because that was a genre that's too wide. I was trying to go with a very specific book And that's why I was saying Waylander is probably one of my favorites. The character is exactly like I think people should live their lives, which is unacceptable in current society. But I absolutely love it. And it is a guilty pleasure reading and smiling and explaining it to like Sleeve or the guys in chat. And they're like, damn, that guy's hard as balls. Like he makes like Goggins look like a pussy. Like he is just hard as fucking balls. He still makes mistakes, still gets fucked up. It's
Get
just
hard.
it's just hilariously not what would be acceptable now. As a person dealing with others. And yeah, it's definitely a guilty pleasure. Guilty pleasures are fun though. Hey, I'm not taking anything away from that. What's up, Sky Days? Sky Days with Super Chat that he did at 3 a.m. our time. What's up, guys? I heard a great phrase the other day. Happiness is a journey, not a destination. Other than gaming, what makes you feel happy and appreciate life currently? For me, I'm realizing how important career satisfaction is in feeling happy. Oh, and cheeseburgers. Okay. Well, those could be aligned if you worked at Wendy's, but what's something that makes you feel, other than gaming, makes you feel happy?
Recently, it's been working out because I've been lifting more weights and stuff and trying to push my limits. And I'm still not doing a ton, but it feels, because relative to me, it is a ton. So it does feel pretty awesome at the end of it. And I usually reward myself with like a nice, shake that tastes really good, like with a bunch of stuff in it. So it's one of those like dopamine things lately. It really changes your brain chemistry too, like how you feel about other stuff. If you sit to play a game, it feels like you appreciate it much more too.
That's a hard question, man, because what makes you appreciate?
Yeah.
And he said it in the happy way. I was going to say, what would make you appreciate life? And I would say a sad TV show or something where a sad moment happens makes me appreciate people or whatever, because it reminds you, hey, my life didn't go to shit like this character. But stuff that really, okay, I'll tell you right now, Jesus. And I personally think I have a mental problem or block around this currently that I've been trying to bust through, but driving my car. Going on long drives is one of the greatest feelings in the world. It's up there with like D&D. It's up there with airsoft video games. It's one of the greatest things that I ever can do, and I am purposely not doing it, and I do not know why. I'm not 100% sure why. I do that sometimes where I don't know if I'm in Iron Man mode, where I'm like, I need to make sure, I'm taking care of shit. I can't go enjoy myself. But a couple days ago, my wife was like, do you want to go for a drive? And I turned it down. And then later that night, I was like, that is exactly what I needed. Dude, I'm telling you, Johnny, I know you can't do this, but I'm just, dude, it's so hard to describe. I have had it since a kid. We used to be able to hike. Then it was motorbikes. Then it was three-wheelers. And it was like, 12, 13 hours in the middle of nowhere, just driving and exploring the journey. He was talking about journeys. Driving a car is like that. There's something almost, I don't mean to sound like, fucking Clarkson or something, but there is something almost sexual about going on a drive. It's not sexual, man. It's, but it hits you in the same way, like a sense of gossamer bliss, where for me, when I'm driving, like I can tune out and listen to music, and and some people don't like sound. I actually do. You and I have talked about going to sleep with sound. I do, like my car pipes sound in because it's so quiet. You can turn it up or down, but it has to pipe sound in.
Interesting.
So I have it tiny bit turned up so I can hear the sound. But there's something that is so fucking calming about music, somebody talking or maybe not, and then that like
the rumbling.
Oh, dude, it's almost like what rocked as a kid. Or the feeling of a hug. Yeah, I still remember getting hugged by I barely remember my grandma one time picking me up when I was much older than probably 5 or 6 and holding me like a baby because she was really maternal. And I remember feeling like that's love. So,
dude, that sounds like a meditative
experience for you. And dude, I'll come back home and my brain will be 1,000 times more on fire than teaching martial arts or doing martial arts and for whatever reason, I'm not doing it. No, and it's been bothering me for a couple months. I've been like, why am I not?
Well, you know how you're pretty good with scheduling time. You need to just schedule that shit.
Yeah,
say, hey,
I do, but yeah. No, I have no clue what it is. But you've done this before too. Like sometimes where you just for whatever reason your brain is like, I don't know. It's almost like a self-pariah kind of bullshit. Because I know it's bullshit. You should do everything you can to make you happy.
Like, I love playing guitar, but there will be a week where I don't play any guitar just because I'm doing other stuff, or like you say, for whatever reason, you can't really pinpoint.
Yeah, but we are going to go. I think also I did go to the cab. I think I might be thinking my vacation was like more than I normally took. So therefore I don't need it or whatever, which is that's just the worker in me kind of stuff. But it's really stupid. I should because I do love driving. God, it's so fun. That's why I wish you could visit Oregon. Because, dude, all we do is grab My Chemical Romance, Breaking Benjamin, Def Leppard, Disturbed, a bunch of Eminem, some fucking some some DMX or whatever, and Fleetwood Mac. See, my musical tastes are all over the place. And then some Rob Zombie.
Yeah, that's a bit eclectic, but I would dig
we haven't even got into Suzanne Sandifor yet. But yeah, we would throw them all, some Enya, and we'd just rock off for like 8 hours. Just breaking speed limits everywhere we go. That is exactly what I would do. If you guys did visit, that is honestly what I would most likely do, is verify you wouldn't get car sick, because people don't ride a lot, and then jump in the car and just be like, let's do this shit, and just talk and yak. Next question, Green Saturn says, hey, ACG, I'm thinking of ditching Windows before October 14th. Oh, when Windows 10 reaches end of life, which version of Linux is worth getting for my PC? So I'm not really a huge Linux fan, though I'm working with it more. I know that Reg has one or two. Mint is easy. Ubuntu is the main one. I am using that, and then that's it, right? That's the one I'm using right now, Ubuntu?
Yep.
Sorry, I was making sure that's one I installed this morning. But yeah, and they're good, and they're all pretty ironclad. And the thing is once you put, like, if you want to run anything on there that you're a little confused, you can use like Docker or something like that. And you can run 1,000 billion things on top of it. It's pretty easy to use overall.
Yeah, I still think there isn't a good reason for a normal user to go to
Me neither.
Linux, Ubuntu and stuff. Even if you're doing work or like work with Docker, you can do it from Windows too, because you have things like, it's called WSL, where you can run,
Linux framework inside
Linux
Windows.
Terminal. Yeah, and so there are ways to work around it, and that's what I do personally. I don't really do. We do some stuff for work in Linux hosts, but that's not my choice, and it's not like the OS. It's literally just command line, so it's a different.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so for OS, I just don't feel it's very good. But you know what? Some people really love it, and they have some cool stuff in there. So
I guess for me, a normal user, if I want compatibility, which is why I would get a PC in the first place.
That's the thing.
I would, despite its issues that are, by the way, there. But now you go at Linux, you look at the huge hack that almost happened. You start to see people aiming towards Linux, which is going to have its own issues. There's also the thing with 80,000 versions of everything, where weirdly enough, at least with Windows, if you have one version and I have one, I can usually still fucking talk to you network wise. There's some compatibility there. But I would say, you know what you could do like I did WSL on Windows as well, but I also have a dual boot into the Linux. And I don't really see Linux definitely by itself is going to be less. There's just less drivers, so it's quicker. I use a Synology server that uses their own. It's obviously based on Linux, but it's their own OS, like sort of OS on top of it, and that's for the other server, and it works pretty well. But I would say the one thing is just be prepared that you're going to have to do a lot more. I mean, that's just the way it is. You're gonna, even
and
just
sometimes you're
help.
Gonna have one random thing that doesn't work. Could be your monitor, could be like a peripheral. And then it's much harder to find, a solution.
Yeah, I think one of the things Reg and I were talking about is there was something in one of our systems that it just does not work. It does not work.
Yeah.
So there's no, it's not, I want it to work or blah, blah, blah. It's like the only way to get it to work would be basically find somebody to write you a driver or write you whatever it is, to get all this shit.
Because it's so specific, right?
Yeah, but still good. Hope you enjoy it if you do. Windows 11, I have dual booted on this system here and that system there. I didn't even de-bloat one of them. It runs pretty fine, and it runs on an 8 gig RAM. This is just going to be used. I'm going to dual boot it probably, I'm going to use the dual boot. But it's running Windows on 8, and it actually does completely fine. It's not nice. A B-Link. It's a new SN or GMK Tech, and I think this is the G9. So it's got 4 NVMEs that can do RAID, and it's a server style system. I got that yesterday, and it's fun. It's fun. Yeah. Let's see. Moving on from there. No, this patron user just said, do you think Outer Worlds 2 will lean more into satire or go full sci-fi epic? Follow-up question, should Obsidian keep the tone from that first game or go darker? Do you like the idea of whichever one? That's a good question. Yeah. Outer Worlds. So does Outer Worlds go... I didn't see a lot of joking in Outer Worlds 2. In that, did you? In this trailer?
Not in that, no. Not at all in that.
Mm.
Yeah. But I do hope they keep some of the, whimsical stuff they got going on.
You know how... Okay, this is going to sound weird. Just bear with me. You know how you sometimes have a friend who's funny, and when they're not trying to be funny, they're still funny because you always expect them to be funny? Outer Worlds atmosphere was that way for me. Meaning, it didn't need to tell a joke because you already from the start understood it was industrial. It was sort of anti-human in a way. It was almost a cyberpunk game where you hear like low life, high tech, but this was more low life, mid tech.
Yeah, I see that. The way I view it when you said that is that you already know in advance the game doesn't take itself too seriously,
or humans,
because of some of these premises, or humans, because of some of these premises of like you said,
industrialization, taking advantage of the people who are there, the big companies, the fucking pigs that you eat the tumors off of. Like it's like, and that's funny, that's gross, but I didn't feel like it had to be overt. So I have a feeling it'll probably stick right there. I'd be fine with that. I don't think I have any issues with it. Next question, is the Nintendo Switch 2 worth it if it costs $449? We answered that. Next up, and I want to talk to Johnny about this. Why is Blueprints suddenly everyone's favorite game ever? Is it really that good? Or is this another hype-filled critic darling? So
Blueprints?
Prince, NCE. However, it's a play on words because you are actually building a house when you do the puzzles with blueprints. So it's a double entendre, but not sexual.
I respect it.
Yeah. It's a menage a whatever's 14 in French. But what do you think, like, overall? Have you seen any of this? Because if you haven't, I can talk about it.
I've only seen a little bit today, but go ahead. What have you seen? So
basically, it's a game where you get you basically get an old abandoned mansion, and every single room, it's I believe 9 by 5, 9 rooms by 5 rooms wide. So there's like, I can't remember, it's like 49, whatever that 5 times 9, 45. What is that? Why am I having problems with 5? What's happening right now?
Yeah, it's okay. It's 45. It's like,
I said 49 for some reason. But anyway,
it's all good.
I think my brain kept thinking there were 50. But so what you have is these blocks, and every single room you put down is a puzzle, but it can also change stuff. And when you go into a new room, you open a door, and it gives you some tiles that tell you basically what are you gonna do, or what room are you gonna fix or pick? Sorry. But if you pick the dark room, which lets you, it's a place for like developing photos, the next room you pick, you can't see the photos because it's dark. So you choose a random one, and you're trying to get to the end. But some rooms are closed off with no doors, and that's fine because they'll have a bunch of stuff. But you need to actually get to the end of you need to build the entire mansion to win. You also, I believe it's 49 steps. You have 49 steps per day, 49 movements per day. And then it goes to the next day. So you have a roguelike thing a little bit, and then you've got your choice thing a little bit. But the puzzles in each room are pretty insane. And so I was hearing, It was somebody else. I can't remember. Somebody else was playing it yesterday, and they were telling me, like, dude, a couple of these puzzles are rough in this room. Like they are really complex in a good way, because the game is about that. It's like any other, old mansion, scary shit's going on in the house, except this one's not really horror as much as it is more mystery vibe.
Okay. So it's all about the puzzles.
It's all about the puzzles. Yeah, it's all about the puzzles. So I wouldn't say Portal, but I'm just going to say it as a puzzle game. But you've got your Portal Witness. Remember the Witness?
The Witness.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's got that kind of level of stuff going on in every single room. And then the room also, which I think one reason why this is so popular is because the rooms make a change to the cards you get for the next room. I actually do think if that was missed, it would be we wouldn't know that it was missing, but I think that does offer a lot. If going into the next room, some of these rooms might affect the cards you get. I like that. I think that's sort of cool. I also love the idea that, hey, a closet might be worthwhile because it may have some items that you need in there, but at the same time, you've closed off a room because it's just a closet and you can't add a room to that side. So yeah, it feels good, man. It feels good. It looks good. Everybody I've talked to seems to love it. However, is it an indie darling? I don't know. Is anybody playing it in chat? And if you were to ignore completely recency bias, would you say
I've seen it on Twitch popping off today for sure?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
It's a cool concept, Yeah,
because this happened with the fantasy one, the two-player Joseph Ferris. What's his game?
Yeah, Split Fiction.
Split Fiction. But I believe Split Fiction does a lot more, and there's a lot going on. And so I can see that one. This one is just a puzzle game. I don't think this will grab people that aren't into puzzle games because it's just all puzzles. It's not like Split Fiction, which changed it up. Split Fiction wasn't only just about the story, but that story changed. It wasn't just about one world. It was many worlds. It wasn't just about one person. It was two people. There's all kinds of stuff. So I understand where that one's coming from. This one, I think, could easily do quite well. But you have GTA. And so, like, if somebody starts talking about Game of the Year now, I'm like, dude, I think it's best.
Yeah.
It's weird to talk about Game of the Year in friggin' April to me. I don't know. What's up,
Also,
Sky Days? We just answered your question too, bud.
Good to see you, man.
What were you saying?
Yeah, also, if the puzzles are hard, it's naturally going to select out a bunch of people who don't like super hard puzzles.
It's a filter on a filter. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a filter.
Sure. Yeah. It's like when you go to Google and you say tools and you say search in a certain day, as you dial in those tools, you're doing the same thing with a genre within a genre within a genre. Pretty soon you got one guy who likes
every puzzle
porn,
you try,
cat writing, puzzle games that
super
are roguelike.
niche.
There's one
horse
guy.
riding.
Right. Anyway, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
If every puzzle you attempt, you feel dumb because you can't figure it out, you're not going to stick with it, right?
No, but I love the idea of that. I love the idea of a game that's just like, what if you made one? It's just called You Are Dumb, and all it is all of the problems you and I've talked about in astronomy or in formula that are like the unsolvable problems.
Yeah.
That's all in there. So like half of the ones you can't, like I felt with Bard's Tale 4 with that one mission I told you about. Yeah.
That one.
Dude, I love the idea of that. But don't tell anybody they're not. Don't tell anybody. Just be like, I love the idea of that. Just being all, man, this is a great, and make the graphics look amazing. Do everything you can. No micros, guys. No micros, man. We're not doing micros. But then deliver a game that is just patently unwinnable, and just wait. And you'd have two things: somebody review it and say they completed it and got 100%. That would happen, even if you couldn't. And the second would be somebody bitch that there weren't platinums or whatever those fucking things are called, trophies. Those two things would for sure happen. They would for sure happen. God damn, that's awesome. Now I want to do that. What else do we got for questions here? With $3.2 billion projected for GTA 6, is Rockstar under pressure to change the open world formula? Or would they just go bigger, louder, more chaotic.
Good question. Do you think they have to go bigger, or is it good enough to just create a new experience similar to GTA 5?
Dude, there's no competition in that genre. They killed themselves. Saints Row destroyed itself. There is no competition in an open world modern, like, you know, explore the world, continually do stuff. There's a couple MMOs that are out there that allow for little shit. There's no competition other than GTA. Like, they're their own competition. So I don't think they need to add a bunch of stuff. I think it'd be very smart if they just built on what they had. You and I have talked about this. Add in another 2 or 3 mini games.
A bit more interaction, maybe.
Bit more interaction. Yeah. I don't even need the 3, you know, there's the rumor of the 3 cities. There supposedly it's not just 1, it's 3. I wouldn't even need that. If you can fix the interactions, get more characters on screen, add animals, have cool side missions, have a cool story, which is obviously GTA is.
Yeah.
GTA would be nowhere near as popular, by the way, as well, if it didn't have a good story, because the number of people who do play that and play through the campaign and the story is insanely high. That is not a game that is just multiplayer. And the same thing happened as we saw with Red Dead. Good story, bad online. We saw how that worked out. So they do need to nail both. But I would say bigger, better. And by the way, reinventing. Okay, well, let's break it down this way. Anybody can answer? I don't feel like I feel like reinventing is a magic land that almost never exists unless there's a technological change with it. Let me explain that. If you went from cartridges to CDs and now you have audio, true audio, that's a change, true audio. You go 2D to VR, that's a change, but it's a technological change that's on top of whatever games you're making. 2D to 3D, a whole other experience, but within a short amount of time, we had games messing with time in those. I just do not at all feel like there is a need to reinvent any. I think bigger, better works out really well, because the ultimate thing is if you go and change everything, then you alienate the people who liked the prior game too. I'm not saying you can't force them to like the new one, but I don't see them going like, we're going to reinvent the wheel. Because, guys, what's reinventing a city? It's already a city. Yeah. What are you going to reinvent? You would have to reinvent the city. There isn't much there. You know, you add systems in. Cyberpunk could have tried it because there were some technologies that maybe they could have interacted in a city that felt different. But I think bigger, better is fine. I think innovation is something that we're sold by Apples of the world lying to you that you need a new iPhone because some innovative thing is on there. And their innovative thing is to be as closed off as humanly possible, and people suck it up. I don't think innovation happens very often. And when it does, it doesn't happen at once. It happens when like a major tech takes over, cell phones, obviously. That kind of stuff happens. Handhelds didn't even innovate. I mean, look at handhelds. It's like it's an APU that's been done since like fucking Game Gear. I mean, you know, they didn't innovate. They're reiterating. There isn't really much innovation there, even in the tech side on that part. I just haven't seen one innovate, I guess. I mean, and even Halo. Go ahead.
Right. When it comes to an established game series, you can subvert some stuff, but if you fully subvert the expectations of people, you're going to have what you described, which is people who love the prior games think they're going to get a certain game and then be dissatisfied because they're getting something else other than what was promised.
Yeah, that's why I think bigger, better is smarter. If you want to add something that does change things, feel free.
Yeah, so not like changing direction, but more so picking one direction and going further than they have gone. So it could be, like we're saying, you know, deeper interaction. It could be a bigger world. I do think the interaction piece is a much richer space to explore than just a bigger world. So I'd like to see that, more activities, things to do. I always thought that those were the juice for me.
The juice.
The little things you could do in the game, and how little you needed to really create an emergent narrative in your mind. You know, just the fact that you could hit the gym, for example, in San Andreas.
Oh, dude, so nice.
You could kind of create a whole thing around it in your brain, you know? So for me, that's what makes those games really special.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think you really need to change the open world formula. I think that it still has a ton of a way to go. Plus, it depends on which open world fantasy. You look at Kingdom Come, you could say they changed it because they went super ultra realistic, where a lot of fantasy or swords and medieval stuff goes magic. So you're like, okay, even though they had alchemy, which was fake as hell, you know, like, but overall, they didn't have to change it. They just solidified where they were. I think GTA solidifies where it is. Let other people try. See, yeah, man, I don't see the open world formula. I don't think it needs, it needs changing, and I always want new stuff. But at some point, we're going to get to the thing where somebody's going to say the dreaded word that you've seen in software development, and I've for sure seen, where change comes up and you're in the meeting and you realize, and it's a pit in your stomach, that you're in the mode of that particular development that is changing shit just to change shit. And people are justifying their job by saying, you know, we need to change the title to, you know, this RBG or whatever. And you're like, why are we talking about that? Like, shouldn't we be adding stuff? And you're like, no, we're just changing this around. I think with open world, there's still a lot before we get to that point. We'll see how their RP does, because they got role-playing servers. Unfortunately, it sounds like that cratered. They bought the role-playing, the devs that made the major role-playing mod, I guess. But a couple of those devs have popped off and said it, like, there's been no work or whatever on it. So maybe they bought it just to hold those people back. I don't know. You know, you never know with a big company. Kig says, Blueprints looks boring to me. Dude, you played Rise of Ronin, man. If you can play that, you can play Blueprints. Eternal says, I'm very curious to see how GTA 6 capitalizes on modern SSD tech. It'll just load faster. I mean, what else would there be? You know, they'll be obviously switching out characters, it sounds like. But Skyday's $20 super chat. After the tariffs, you'll probably only get a few cents from this. Berserker is currently my game of the year. My friend Holly voices Defrona as well.
Oh, damn.
Damn, that's pretty cool to know somebody in the system.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty... I mean, I'm trying not to say too awesome, because Berserker being his game of the year makes me think he's played one game this year, but hey.
Nah, it's a good game, man.
Yeah, thank you very much. We appreciate it. It does help the channel immensely. Yeah, man, I don't know. I think I'm pretty happy with them just improving GTA currently, getting things up to snuff, the loading, like other people in here talked about, and then going from there and doing what they do best, which is making a fun world to explore. And I don't need absolutely everything new to be fun. Next question is, oh, okay. Do you think Outer Worlds 2 will push choice-based storytelling further than Bethesda ever has? Could it be a spiritual successor closer to New Vegas because of its extra development dollars? Damn, that's a good question. See, thank you, by the way. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. I think we saw some solid
writing, right?
Like dialogue options and writing so far. Yeah.
That's a good question, though. Like, what? I'm trying to think of the writers they have there. Okay. Knowing that I'm not as hot on New Vegas as anybody else in the universe, I feel like the way their world works, the writing probably won't be at New Vegas's level. The choices could be a ton. There could be a ton of choices. And I think they will do a lot of choices, but I also think that they're pretty smart in that just because maybe they have more time right now, or they have more money, or they there's a little less stress maybe for where they are or something like that. I don't necessarily think that I see them bloating anything and going like, we're going to make a million choice. We're going to fucking lie to everybody like Larian did. It's 10,000 endings or whatever. You're like, dude, shut the fuck up, you know? Or like, what was it? Dead Island 2, 500 hours. You could play this game for 500 hours. You can play title screen for 500 hours. Yeah. Yeah, that I don't know. We'll have to see. You never played New Vegas, I suppose, either, right? Because New Vegas would have
played
been
a little
before your
bit,
time.
but it crashed almost immediately.
Ooh, Eternal says something cool. Could be fun to have extreme weather events change a landscape or affect gameplay like a hurricane. Dude, I wouldn't put it past Rockstar. I would not put it past. Listen, Johnny, would this be this would be hilarious. It is possible. We've seen water effects like this all the way back to Call of Duty Infinite Warfare did a tidal wave. But imagine you're playing GTA and a story event happens, and the story is about you helping out. Maybe you're hiding out because it looks like a heist of some kind has gone wrong. So let's say you and that girl are in a low rent neighborhood, and they're getting ready for a hurricane. And so you're doing little odd jobs for them. You're like trying to take care of things. Somebody's like, yo, man, my grandma, I haven't seen grandmammers. You need to help me find her. So you find her, you put her in the back of your hoopty, you drive her, you're delivering grandmas, you're doing all this little stuff. Then something major happens, maybe like a fucking, like a whole, the bad guys know where you are. Maybe like some gang member wants his money back, or somebody that's giving you money for the heist. They show up, everybody's got their guns drawn. And then right at that time, the hurricane hits, and we actually see the floodwaters come up. And now the speedboats, the fan boats that we know are in the game, you can actually use inside of the flooded parts of the city. That is not beyond, number one, tech. You can do that. We've seen that in games as well. I think after or before the flood, whatever that game was, had some of this. Even past, you can make effects in game worlds like that. That would not surprise me if they pulled off something like that at all. That would not even be, I would be like, they're the only ones who might try that because the gameplay changes dramatically. That would not surprise me.
Yeah.
It would not surprise me at all.
That'd be insane. Yeah.
That would be something. It wouldn't be game-changing open world formula at all. We've seen other games do changes, but it would be like, oh my God, seriously? And then maybe you have a certain amount of time as that water recedes. I mean, look at Shadows. It's got snow melting. It's got snow falling down, melting. It's got, I'm not saying it's adding layers, because the big problem is collision detection, you have all this stuff. But we saw it in Uncharted, where somebody would like flood an area and now you're swimming in that area. Like you see that in Tomb Raider, Uncharted. It's not like we can't do it, but at the scale of that, dude.
Yeah, just the fluid dynamics.
Yeah, the fluid,
or whatever.
Dude, do you know,
it would be
insane. It would be smart of them to contain it to a particular area somehow. Like you try to get out and, you've got like FEMA going like, until we've got everything fixed, you guys can't leave it. So you can only flood that way. You don't have to worry about the other areas. Maybe it's a small contained. I'm just trying to figure out ways to do it technically on some of these systems.
Yeah.
Because it's
scope it out somehow.
Yeah, because it's going to be on the S and the X and the PlayStation original 5. So it's like they don't have the highest systems. But yeah, that would be awesome. Damn. Good questions, man. Jesus. All right. What else do we got? What do you have?
So we had the triple I
interactive event or something like that. Triple interactive.
Yeah, they showed a bunch of indie games.
They did.
So maybe we can go through a few highlights from that.
Yeah, can you send me or I'll get the link. I gotta get the link. I don't want to click Discord again and have it steal my camera.
What
was it called? Triple.
It is in our chat. It's triple.
Found it.
Triple I.
All right. So this event had a lot of good games. The one I saw that looked amazing was Voidbreaker. First person, destructible environments, fully destructible. Like, that looked insane. What other ones? Frostраil was the one where you've got a base as a as a train. Another game with a train as a base.
And that looked to be multiplayer too.
Yes, indeed.
Didn't it?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea of building a base on a train.
Can I also mention it's like the 9th game where you're using a train as a base. You have Void Breakers. You've got the other one I can't remember. You've got Exodus, Metro Exodus.
Yeah.
You have this, and then there were 2 indie games that also did.
It's a good idea, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
I mean, unless you want to turn left and the rails go right, like that. That's not a good idea. But what other ones? Do you see any?
So I saw a few that I'm looking forward to. One is Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. Mm-hmm. That one is coming out of early access. Okay. And it's actually a fantastic game already as it is, but
saw you guys
this is September this year, coming out in 1.0. I'm very, very excited for that. It's similar to Drive Loop, right, in the structure.
Mm-hmm.
But I really feel that game is quite unique because you're also digging. So the combination there makes for like a pretty unique, because you can dig and create paths through which enemies are funneled. Yeah. So you can really play you can be really clever with that. And it looks fantastic. Has a really nice look for me. So that was a highlight. Let's check what others really popped off. I liked Over the Hill. Over the Hill was the Snow Runner. Excuse me. Was the Snow Runner style
game. Yeah.
Game. Lots of cozy games, right? I'll describe it like Moonlighter 2, for example, where you keep a shop, but there's also some isometric combat that looked fun. They had some pixel art ones that looked interesting too. And several early access games showing new content coming out, like Timberborn, which is the Badger games. Is it Badgers? The one making the dams?
Yeah, Badger. You mean that chew through wood, make dams? Yep.
Yeah. I think it is Badgers.
Badgers or beavers. Well, beavers are the ones that flap. Is that what you're talking about?
Thank
Sorry,
you.
Yeah, Badgers are the other ones. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So you're making dams. It's a colony manager game. Mm-hmm. It's very, very promising, but still early access for a very long time. And similarly, Enshrouded is another really cool game. Early access, but already has a ton going for it. They have a big update coming out in like mid-year. But yeah, lots of nice cozy games. Outbound was another one where you're driving a van. There's a dog, and just some nice indie games overall.
So,
Tears of Metal. Sorry. Yeah.
No, go for it. What were you gonna say?
Tears of Metal was also really good looking one.
I was just gonna bring up that for you, remember that there's 2 Deep Rock games. There's Rogue Core, and then there's the Survivor. So Survivor's coming out of early access. Rogue Core is the one that's coming in, right?
Right.
Closed alpha. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So the ones for me, Frost Rail, like I said, Void Breaker. I was looking at the other ones. Lot looked good. Lot looked like what I'd play generally. I thought Frozen Compass looked awesome, and Into the Fire both looked awesome. Like Into the Fire is from the guys who did Invincible, which I tried to like. But Into the Fire is, now bear with me, it's an extraction game. But it seems like it might be a one-person extraction. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's an extraction game. And I'm the first to admit that extraction games have overstayed their welcome faster than almost any other game type somehow. Escape Simulator 2 for VR, which is awesome. I saw Enshrouded. I thought that looked cool. Moonlighter 2, I think, is one of the ones that's the highest on my list to check out. Morbid Metal looked cool. And then I think there was one other one looking through the list.
there is the altars, which you
that's what it was.
previewed.
Yeah, the altars. Yeah.
That looks insane as well.
I can tell you, because I did the preview, I played that preview, and that game felt done already. So, like, I cannot wait until the altars comes out. It was. I didn't have any bugs. I was just like, this game feels like it's close. I think the delays are probably maybe some polish, as well as maybe just getting it planned, right? Just getting the release time planned.
Yep.
Amud says, I'm looking forward to that Beavers game. Lucitan says Endless Legend 2 with the map changing over time. That would be awesome.
True, that did look good. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was also one, is it Tears of Metal? I need to
Tears of Metal, yeah.
Yeah, that looked really good. And then there was one that looked a bit like I don't know I think like Astroneer. It's called Starbirds. So you have these little planets where you build like.
I was having a hard time if that looked good or not. What do you think of that? Like graphically, I don't know.
I like the idea a lot.
Right.
Because I like those types of games, right? Like creating pipelines and chains and stuff. But yeah, I was more so just interested in seeing more about it. And it's also done in collaboration with Kurgesagt, which is like that
the science
YouTube channel, science channel, which is cool too. So that's interesting. But yeah, there's another one called Ikuma that looked graphically very interesting to me. And you had a dog, which is always a plus. So it was all like icy. There was some exploration.
You and the dogs.
With your dog.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I'm the same way.
Dogs in games, man. It's
dogs in games. Instant 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Last Epoch Season 2, Oregon Fresh says, Denny's says the robot DMC game looked good. I think that's the metal one. I could be wrong, but I think that was the Tears of Metal. Or is that a different one? That he's talking.
I'm not sure. Robot DMC. No, I think that was Morbid Metal. Maybe?
Morbid Metal, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Welcome to Brightville is a Bioshock inspired one. I saw that too. I got to see more of that. It looked a little, I don't know.
Yeah.
Graphically, it looked a little
weird.
Some
we didn't see a ton. There was one that I thought could be fun too. The Speedrunners game, where it's like a competitive platformer.
Yeah.
I thought that could be fun with friends. If you're just shooting the shit. Yeah. Some good stuff there.
Sorry, I'm just reading these questions on Twitter as well. Somebody says, they know I'm not a Tekken fan, but have I been keeping up with the oddness around Tekken's second season? And I feel like I do remember some of this, but unfortunately I can't talk about it because I don't remember enough to say anything knowledgeable about it. I don't know enough about the Tekken issue. I'll look at it, maybe talk about it next week. I do want to shout out Atomfall. They had 2 million players. It is under players because I believe that's Game Pass, so they haven't stated their sales, but they seem insanely happy. I want to read some of these stats real quick. So these are for you stat lovers, you people who need a stat to make you feel like you've accomplished something in your digital fake-ass game. Here we go. By the way, that's a joke. I like these too. 2 million players. This is all for Atomfall. In the first encounter, 59% of people helped the main scientist, 21 threatened him, 19 killed him. We can all admit 19% is low. We need to up our game. We need to up those fucking numbers, right? Up those numbers. Right. Like that should have been reversed. 59% should have killed him minimum. You can't trust anybody. He's wearing a suit. I mean, come on. Cash is found, 12,700,000. Favorite food, tin of meat is number one at 14.1 million tins of meat eaten. That's like Spam, which admittedly with a little top ramen is delicious. Next up is bread, 8.4. So these guys are carbon up, which means they're probably dying 5 minutes later because they're losing their energy. And they're probably the weak ass people who aren't killing the scientist. Then you got pasty. I don't know what that is. Here, a pasty you put on your tits if you're a dancer and it covers your nipples, but it looks like it's probably some type of maybe it looks like some type of pie. 7.6 million. Cups of tea drunk, 500,000. Pints of beer ordered, 250,000. Comics found, 3.6 million. Swarm fatalities. Swarms in the games, if you haven't played this, You can have like bees come at you. You can have rats. You can have a couple others, and they're bastards. They're actually quite a difficult opponent. Swarm fatalities alone, 420,000 people have died to swarm fatalities. Let's have a moment of silence for those people who are pussies and had bread. Oh, I meant people who died from the swarms. Sorry. Just joking. Yeah, that's crazy, man. I love the stats like that. That kind of stat's good, where it combines them all. I like to see what other people are doing in the game. I think that's cool. I don't need to see no fucking trophy. I don't care about that. But I like this kind of weird shit. How many tins of meat everybody ate? I love that.
Yeah.
That kind of
stuff. I always like those in Telltale games too, to see, you know.
Oh, dude, Telltale. You get to the end and you're 1%, and it always made me just...
or whatever.
I loved getting to the end, and it'd be like 1% of people made the decision you made, and I'm like...
Yeah. You're like,
1%.
You are a monster. Only 5% of people chose this.
Whatever. I'm the one alive. I'm the 1% still alive because I wasn't letting those weaklings weigh me down. So many things are catching strays from Carrick right now. Oh, when I was reading those from Johnny, yes, that is true. I saw little glances he was giving me. Powder keg pasty equals 150 SPF minimum. I don't know what that is. Oh, pasty. SPF.
Okay,
Sunscreen.
Protector factor,
dude, whatever. That's a good triple. That's a triple deep joke. That's triple deep.
Yeah, that's a layered
good
one
for you, man. Alp says carbs are super important. All right. I mean, flat earther. Eternal says Where Winds Meet is having a beta on May 16th. It's an open world action RPG set in 10th century China during the 5 dynasties. Great. So you just walk around as a native and get killed instantly. That's all it is. You just walk around as these warriors with stabs with huge swords. And what if it is all it's about is you trying to get like a little bit of noodles for a family member, and it's a roguelike, right? And the noodles are like only a mile away, but you have to get there through the guys who just don't give a shit about you as a person, and you have to find a way there. That would be an amazing game. Once. Let's see. It's almost like an RPG or an MMO hybrid, depending on the mode you're playing. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool, I guess. I don't know. That part of it, that 10th century China, that just speaks of probably dysentery, a lot of infections, a lot of infections, not knowing what the clap is, but everybody in town's got it because they all slept with, Susan, whatever Susan's name would be in China at that time. They're all eating 10 million pasties or whatever the fuck those are. Like, I don't know. 10th century China seems rough. I'll check it out, though. All joking aside. It's 4-player co-op, too. Wait a minute. You said it was an MMO. Wait, what? It's an MMO. What? Oh, hybrid. I gotcha. Little like Destiny, then, where you have a bunch of people.
Okay, so you have teams together. Your party or whatever.
Yeah. Cool. That's cool. I'm glad to see some of these straight. You know what, dude? A couple days ago, somebody came in, and they were like, I'm so mad, man. I was talking to my friend, and he was like, there's no new games coming out. And I was just like, it's not only that there are a bunch of games coming out, it's that there are so many games coming out that it's quite literally now impossible to cover games. And you'll still have some jackass, mentally masturbating in a GTA 5 lobby about how there's no good games, as they're calling everybody the N-word. And you're like, dude, read the room, man. Like, look where you are. Damn. There's so many good games. I didn't know anything. Did you know anything about this one? Where Winds Meet?
No, not really.
If I said Where Winds Meet, would you even know it was 10th century? It sounds a little bit to me like two dudes facing their butts against each other and farting. Like that's where the winds meet.
No, I think that's just you. I didn't have that image.
All right. I did right away. But does it mean 10th century China to you? Where Winds Meet?
No, I think it's pretty generic.
Yeah.
Doesn't really say anything.
Yeah. Typical game name where you're like, Sleeve says BAFTA Game Awards happened a few days ago. Astrobot and Still Wakes the Deep cleaned up. Did you do Astrobot?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that for what it was. One time.
Yeah, one time for a bit.
Oh, for a bit. Sounds like you dropped off.
I would play a bit and stop.
Oh, I see.
short
That's a good game.
session.
Yeah, and you know what? It ain't no game with a super hard difficulty. You can leap back into that game 15 times and you're fine. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Exactly.
I'm gonna get sunburned from that monitor. Dude, this monitor's HDR got a patch, and holy shit, it's like 60,000. Speaking of SPF, damn.
The surface of the sun right there.
Alp says, I don't know why, but I want to try the newish climbing game. Just a demo right now. What one's that?
I think that's one of the ones I mentioned. Either Ikuma. I think it was Ikuma. And it's not like a pure climbing game. It has climbing in it. But I wouldn't have mentioned it if it was like a climbing game.
I feel like you would
hate climbing.
Well, you don't hate climbing games, but you hate that one game with climbing in it.
I hate that one very specifically.
What was it?
Jusant.
Yeah,
Jusant.
I feel like if you say it that way, it sounds really derogatory. I feel like Jusant. It's like, yeah, we all know it sucks. I don't know. I'd never played it. That was the one Absy liked, right? And that you disliked.
Yeah.
That was Yeah, I think I would probably dislike that one too, due to the way it looked and moved. I think it would probably
kind of cumbersome control scheme and stuff. What did you make of From Software announcing that Switch exclusive game, The Dusk Bloods, which apparently is like a PvPvE type thing?
I mean, Elden Ring as well. We should point that out. Elden Ring is also coming on Switch too. So, yeah, they announced it in the same event. I think that if you think Bloodborne 2 is coming, and that's all I'm going to say about that. I don't know. It looked like a Bloodborne light to me. That there was a look to it that felt like Bloodborne and Elden Ring mixed together a little bit. It looked okay. I just need to see what it looks like overall. I think when it comes down to it, what I saw didn't look like gameplay I would immediately want to go play. It's also something that a lot of people have been bringing up, that like Elden Ring's DLC is a roguelike multiplayer, whatever. Now you've got this roguelike multiplayer. It's like, what exactly is going on? I will point out that even the best devs of these kind of games will tell you that, yes, while balancing and stuff is quite difficult, it can let you make a game in a shorter amount of time if you have that kind of mechanic in your game. And so, it pays them bills, and they're good. People like their stuff generally. So I just need to see how hard it is. If it's a PvP, like, are you fighting? It sounds like it's PvPvE, right? It's right. Okay.
Yeah, that's I think what it is.
Yeah. So, like, are they sending people towards you? Can you all get in a fight while enemies are still there? How fast is death? Because fighting a player and some enemies, it could be rough. We've seen how that works in the normal games.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It didn't really attract me too much. I saw the guy with the jetpack, and of course I was like, dude, jetpacks, that looks awesome. Holy shit, that's bright. Let me switch to the black screen. But yeah, we'll just have to see. I don't know. Any other games in the last couple days or weeks that you've seen pop that you're like, oh, this actually looks interesting to me? Or
I saw there was a rumor about the new Mafia game coming out
It's coming out August 8th. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was like a Steam page.
Yeah, the Steam page popped up, and the English one didn't have the date. The non-English speaking or reading website did have the date. Yeah.
I'm pretty excited for that, actually.
Me too.
I do like the Mafia games overall.
Yep. I mean, I even liked the first half of Mafia 3 a ton. I mean, that was great. It just became too repetitive, but I there was a ton to like. Yeah, and their story chops in the first half of Mafia 3 were great. Yeah, I'm excited to see that. I feel bad for these guys when these dates pop up, though, because, like, they probably have a trailer prepared, just like we saw the trailer 2 days ago from Alters, where they did the announcement trailers. Somebody spent time making that trailer, money making the trailer, and then somebody uploads a goddamn webpage to Steam and fucks it all up for everybody. There's some dude right now that's just getting rolled in the back of a parking lot somewhere. People are just like, Bob, you fuck Steam up one more time. But yeah, it looked good. Looked interesting to me. trying to see if there was anything else that really ended up coming out or going around. I heard that Star Wars Battlefront 2 got some kind of switch that became, and so now it's unplayable. I did hear that.
Ooh.
Haven't got to check into it, but I heard that like it's been fucked up a bit.
Did you see they released a Devil May Cry anime in?
I did see that. Yeah,
on Netflix.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch it. Did you?
I've seen the first 2 episodes, and it's quite good. And also, it's like really well localized if you watch it in English.
No shit.
It kind of seems like it was done primarily in English. I don't know if that's the case or not.
Damn, really?
But the voices were really damn good. And it even has, I'm blanking on his name,
Kevin
Conroy, as a prominent part in it too. So highly recommend people actually watch it in English.
Damn.
Which is not always the case for anime, but
not always.
For sure. And they also, I was just seeing that the games also got a really big bump in sales
because of
based
the show.
on that. Yeah. So that's a good signal that, we saw it with The Witcher, where there's some
overlap there,
cross-pollination, some overlap.
Fallout was huge.
Yeah. And the fact that kind of like one thing builds interest in the other, and it kind of, positive feedback loop type thing. So it looks like 9th best Steam selling game is the Devil May Cry pack. So it's like a franchise pack.
And then Black Mirror is coming. They got new episodes, and then Blood, Semen, and Robots, or whatever the fuck that's called, is also it comes out.
No semen in it, but
that's the Metallica cover version of Blood, Death, and Robots.
Yeah.
But Blood, Death, and Robots is coming out.
Yeah, Black Mirror, I have started watching. I've seen 4 episodes so far.
What's the thought on Black Mirror? Because I'm going to start tonight.
Great.
Okay.
So I think this season already some mixed, where like one episode really hit for me. First one I thought was great. And then you kind of have ups and downs where one might drag, might not really be that thought-provoking. So there's been a couple that haven't been that thought-provoking, but a couple have been quite good. The first one has Rashida Jones from Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
She's great in it. And then, I'm excited for more. It's just one of those, you're signing up to be completely ruined emotionally, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right. So at the end of every single episode, you're gonna be just a lump of, flaccid matter after they're done with you.
Pushing rope.
But overall, liking them. I think they're actually a bit easier to watch than prior seasons. Some of the prior seasons have been a bit, you're fine 60% of the way, but the last 40% of the journey in an episode is just too much, you know, like maybe kind of goes a bit too extreme. So I thought they landed the episodes pretty well so far.
Yeah, I'm gonna start watching both those in the next couple days. I'm hoping for the next level or whatever from Netflix to be made. Or was that Amazon? Is that Amazon? That's
Amazon.
Is that Amazon? Yeah, can't wait for those. There's so many game worlds I would love to see. Like everybody jump into. Hey, Powder Keg brings up some. Bandersnatch had a good idea, but it wasn't that satisfying. Yeah, Bandersnatch was an awesome idea.
Yep, would like to see that done again.
Let's see, what else do we got here for news? Jesus Christ. People are still talking about the Doom showcase. A lot of questions on Doom, man. A lot of questions coming up. A lot of questions.
Yeah.
By far the most questions I think I've ever seen from, that company in a Doom game. There's a lot of people really wondering, and that those questions could turn into the greatest, success of all time, where it turns out to be exactly what people wanted. But we'll
talk about subverting. We were just saying before, like you shouldn't subvert in a very big way. Those guys,
those guys are not listening to the ACG and Johnny podcast.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard. And then did you see that Valve removed there was some extreme sexual natured game that Valve took off the store? It was like pretty bad. I mean, I like pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
Steam doesn't review.
They have a big number of adult games.
They do, and the idea that Steam removed it, I thought was pretty surprising when I looked it up. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, it must be particularly bad. Yeah, because they have some gnarly stuff.
Yeah, Steam's pretty hands off. Other than the filter, and the filter isn't even that great anyway. The filter will say, I'm not going to show you any hentai, and I'll get hentai within like 2 seconds. And Steam's search page is fucking balls.
Yeah. Instantly getting hentai on my suggested. No, guys, I didn't buy.
I don't know about you, Johnny. I don't use Steam search almost ever anymore because of just how like the suggestions go crazy after a while. I just use Google, find the game, and then click the link, which takes me to the Steam store. So like I'll use Google to find a game I'm interested in by typing in like action games coming out in 2024 or whatever, or 2025, and then find one and then look at the pictures and then jump from there into the store versus using the store to find it. Because I always have to sift through so much bullshit when I'm in that store that I just am like, any store, I should say. Like any store, obviously, not just them. Eternal says, at least they got rid of the terrible platforming from Doom Eternal. Big Mac says, ACG, will you cover the marathon stream tomorrow? Didn't know there was anything from marathon coming up. So let me look. Damn, it must not be getting any coverage because it's not even coming up in Google. Marathons. Let me find out what it is. Bungie, let's see. Bungie's reveal marathon. Bungie about to reveal a marathon in full. It doesn't cover how long it's going to be, so I certainly don't think I'll be I won't be streaming it or anything. Looks like they're just saying it's just going to be a short showing, but they don't say how long it's going to be. Let me look here. Boy, that art style, I don't know. That art style does. Man. I'm hoping to be wowed. Let's see. Saturday. This says Saturday, April 12th. So tomorrow, April 12th at 10 a.m. Yeah, I'll probably watch it in the Discord. Yeah, marathon's up in the air for me, 50-50. Like, I don't know what it's going to be or anything like that. So I'm just up. I'll watch it and hope to be excited because I would love another shooter. I do like those games. Dennis says, have you tried the Metal Eden demo? It's a fun mix of Doom Eternal and Ghost Runner. You ever heard of that?
No. Oh, Ghost Runner. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
He's saying Metal Eden Eden is a mix of Doom Eternal and Ghost Runner.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything on it.
Okay. Yeah, it looks kind of cool.
It's always difficult to know what I'm going to enjoy until I jump into it. Like something like Metal Eden, like the description of Doom Eternal and Ghost Runner is as anti-cool sounding to me as humanly possible. But then I'll probably go look at it and be like, damn, that looks like... You never know, right? Like the description of something... Sometimes even the pictures, man. You just... Like, it's so difficult these days.
Yeah, I think it looks like it has potential.
Do you ever look at a game and think to yourself, just like a dumb child, this game has no potential? Has there ever been a game that you've looked at and been like, guys, if this is your best, maybe you ought to keep it to yourself? Has there ever been like a trailer of a game?
After at the trailer or once the game? At the
trailer, yeah. Have you ever looked at a trailer and been like, damn, what were you thinking?
I mean, honestly, dude, even
Here we go.
The trailer, Gollum was already.
Oh, Gollum! Holy shit! That is not where I expected this conversation
so
to go.
Rough. Yeah.
Oh man, Gollum such a. So do you know the one? I thought you were going to be self-defeating, like I was going to be with Guardians of the Galaxy, because I really did feel like those first trailers of Guardians was like, damn, bad, dude. Gollum though, it's such a great answer, because really, when you look at it, you're like, I hate when somebody says, who asked for this? Because you're not supposed to, you don't ask for the game. Like, to me, I don't ask for a novel. I get surprised by what somebody else's brain creates. I don't need to ask for it and have it be delivered. So when I hear somebody say, who asked for this? But with Gollum, Johnny, man, it would be nice to be able to talk to somebody and ask them who asked for it. Like, or how Gollum became, the character they chose to do. Because you could have done the chick that Samwise or whatever was banging inside of the, in the halfling hovels, and probably had a better time. Wasn't there the buxom girl that he marries her, right? Isn't in the third one he has kids?
He does at the end.
His kids?
The busty.
Busty is right. I swear to God, she looked like a corner piece on a furniture where both sides are equal. She could like fall forward and be like a triangle. She was... I remember this is 2001 or whatever. It was. It was like having both your arms out and just falling over and stiff and boop and pause. I mean, she was. I'm just saying she didn't have to carry the mugs on any kind of rack.
Oh my
they were just
God!
There.
Yeah,
they were just there. Yeah, dude. He married her in the last. They show him with kids, right? Didn't they show him with children?
Yeah, a bunch of kids.
It's cool that somebody came out of that movie with something good. It was a pretty dire ending for me. It's like, all the magic's leaving the world, all those people are leaving. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, Aragorn had a good ending too, right?
Yeah, because he lived as a king and then died. Yeah, he was the story said, right? With Liv.
Yeah,
Liv Taylor.
Tyler. Yeah.
Johnny says, Johnny Blue Jeans, not you, says Gollum has a huge hog. Isn't Blue Jeans also the one who brought up that he thought that the music at the starting was from a gay club? Just saying.
Oh, there's some fixation
he seems to be
there.
Package oriented, is all I'm saying. It doesn't help that people weren't fond of WB games right now. Yeah, maybe so. But I'll tell you what, boy, is that that is a bad pattern to have. If we're just going to be not fond of just in general, like that, that to me, because
everybody can have
a
bad game
or bad leadership, and then you replace it, and it's like, yeah.
Just like it doesn't mean because someone does a great game doesn't mean the next one is going to be great.
Cyberpunk, what? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
dude, those were good times.
I did see that Star Citizen passed 800 million crowdfunding. They've raised over 100 million every year since 2002. That's a pretty insane number right there. Do we know how much a project like AC Shadows costs? Is that type of data
400
open?
I think 350.
I was doing some Googling and I'm seeing
or is it
people theory crafting around sales numbers and stuff. And they seem to think it's around 400 or 500 million.
400 or 500 million. One thing that does pop up, though, just so you know, is so these people who do the numbers, because no one knows, right? They're trying their best. I mean, if they're good people,
it's all like looking at sales.
It is. And it's not only that, but it's trying to guess that, like, if 1,000 people are working on it, what if you have two titles, the first one is your first title, second one is your sequel. Let's say you have 1,000, people could assume that it costs the exact same amount of money for both when it may have cost much less for the sequel because the engine team had to create the engine for the first one.
Yeah.
So there are all kinds of oddities. For example, Ubisoft uses Scalar now, which is their system for like talking. I don't know how ingrained that is currently in Ubisoft's development, but which might have efficiencies. We just don't, it's like you don't know. But many million. I mean, it doesn't, those type of games now seem to be already 100 million just moment one, whether it be, texture artist,
instantly.
voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you look at them and you're like, it's just for sure, millions right away. And I don't think that's always true. But I mean, well, that is always true because 100 million isn't a bunch to spend on a game anymore, but especially an open world game. But it would be nice to see those costs come down. But I think when you look at it, a lot of those costs aren't as freakish. Like, I'm not at all bothered about Star Citizen. At all. I mean, dude, I got my $60 out of Star Citizen 9 years ago when I first announced it. And whatever it turns into is whatever it turns into, but it's like, I can't put my foot down and say you can't make your money this way, because many companies do Kickstarter, which is what they did. Then they do their own thing. And they change their goal. They move their goalposts, which is what development does do. And it sucks, but I'm not too futzed about Star Citizen anymore. I mean, I think I was, but after a while, you're like, okay,
I would like
it's its own thing.
to see like a finished.
Oh, who wouldn't?
Product
for sure.
Yeah. Because what they're creating seems to be amazing, and with the cast and everything they have.
And you and I being huge, not huge, but we're both semi big space fans.
Yeah, space fans.
So there's
there's that. What are you thinking about the Naughty Dog space game? We haven't seen a lot about it, but
do you think that's just going to be Uncharted in space, dude? What I mean by that isn't that okay. What I mean by that is it may not be caves or whatever, but maybe an almost Star Wars Outlaws thing. You're in your ship, you fly to a planet, you go do your missions. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what that game's going to be. I have no clue at all.
I have no clue either.
I liked the general vibe, the synth vibe. I liked the technology I saw. I'm a big technology fan. Like, what level the technology is. Steampunk is one thing, space is another, and then you have like Flash Gordon space, then you have Oblivion, which is well on the right side. Yeah, I don't know, man. What I saw,
I liked it too.
I liked it, but it's just like I don't even know.
I love to see them do something a bit different.
Yeah,
too, because they've been for so long.
True,
they've been on the
but I want Lost Legacy a lot. Number 2.
Yeah, but also we don't know what we want in a way too, because we don't know what they can make outside of that.
Yep. So JT says it's apparently all set on one planet. So.
I'd be okay with that. I mean, there is a ship. We know.
Yeah.
You are in the ship too. So there must be
I mean, that's why I'm like, okay, well, if it's all based on one planet, then I guess maybe you just jump around the planet. I don't know. Like, because
that would be strange.
It would be, because even the map they zoomed in on as a hint showed multiple gates and planets. So it's like,
or it could be that you're in the ship for like a minute.
Oh, God.
And then you immediately
like
crash
Steven
into
Seagal
the planet.
in
yes.
What was that? What was that? Executive Decision, and then he falls out of the plane, and you're like, he'll come back. He'll karate chop his way back in. Yeah, I don't know, man.
It could be that. Yeah,
I'm not going to believe any hints or anything till we see much more, because I lived through all the Spider-Man 1 and 2. I lived through the Switch when everybody was DMing me and being like, my uncle works at Nintendo and the C button is for connecting to your computer.
For sure.
Like, you're full of shit. Dude, the uncle division at Nintendo's got a lot of people in it. That's all I'm saying. I just want Star Citizen to hit beta. Yeah, Star Citizen. The stuff I played to Star Citizen is awesome. It's not cohesive. There's some parts that are very cohesive. I don't think it'll ever match its whatever, because it's already out and we've seen this separate parts, and it's going to be very hard for everybody to ignore what we've seen versus what we're going to get and the piecemeal of it all. But it is fascinating from a pure, just a pure standpoint of development. And anybody who knows Chris Roberts knew this was happening. Dude, everybody. Like, you look at all of his past development, stuff he had to do with Microsoft, with Freelancer, all of the stuff. This is sort of, he wanted to do the biggest, giantest space game in the world. It's like, that's exactly what
I respect it.
I do too. I don't respect the moving of goalposts, but I do respect that we're seeing it because it's kickstarted. And if it wasn't, let's say somebody gave him $1 billion, billionaire gives him $1 billion, the same shit would be happening. It's just we wouldn't be privy to it as much. We're privy to it because they have to release data to backers, and by releasing data to backers, you get more of the data of what's occurred. It's fine. But yeah, it'll be fun to play. I was playing some X4. I know, I think I gave you the VR version of that one, and I don't know if you ever played the original.
I have.
Dude, X4
is... not the original. I've played that one.
Okay, gotcha. X4 has added so much shit, man. And then also the other one we play, Elite, has added buying star systems. Dude.
Wow.
Space games have come into their sexy ass own, haven't they? Man, I used to play space games. There was no 3D. It was top down. You go to a planet, you'd land with your little tracker on there. It looked like a little piece of shit, fat, chubby character from Final Fantasy, but it was supposed to be a car. You'd drive around, you'd mine, you'd go back up into space. And now, full on VR, leaping into these space games. X4 does everything now. It's like shooter. Well, it doesn't do first person shooter, but you can get out of the ship. You can like make your own fucking entire galaxy based foundational factories to build and sell stuff. You can destroy other nations by never once shooting them, but just slowly underpricing their deals, slowly flooding the market. Economic warfare. Yeah, that's crazy. ACG, there's talk about potential DLC for Dragon's Dogma. Yeah, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Might have been in the Discord, actually, now that I think about it. But
I hope so.
I hope so, too. I think that, whatever pops up, I think it would have been nice to have that be announced much closer. I think Dragon's Dogma has been out long enough, and there's enough games that it would have been nice to see it covered and hinted at.
Yeah.
A little earlier.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but the longer it takes to release a DLC, the harder it might be for you to get back into a game.
Absolutely true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it's another city, well, okay, I take that back. I was going to say if it's another city, but that is incorrect because the second city in Dragon's Dogma doesn't have the FPS issues that the first city had. But I was just going to say it'd be, they still haven't figured out even the city. So it's like, where's this new place going to be? But yeah, if it's 4-player co-op, which I'm assuming it'll be.
You think so?
I do. I also think there'll be new classes. But the guy who made it is gone, correct? I'm pretty sure that guy left.
So he moved on to different.
So we'll have to see how those classes fit and feel. I thought the classes in the game were so easily adjusted and skills were so easily bought and tracked in that a new class isn't complex for me in that game. It feels like, okay. I could see it. Playability, maybe the Illusionist was complex to play, especially because the game was pretty chaotic. So trying to lead enemies to a wall or to some place to get them to, run across a bridge and die was more difficult than I thought. But Aries says, I hope they fix Dragon's Dogma 2 first, unless, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, certainly had issues there with the town.
Yeah. Eternal says, I think people are too quick to judge an entire game based off one character's looks. True. Yeah.
What would be an example of that?
Well, I think Star Wars Outlaws is a pretty good example. I think especially because that person's face had been out there on other shows and stuff, and you see that, and then you see the character, and you're like, what? And the judgment may not be that person's ugly or I don't like a woman in a game. It's where you're like, wait, what? Control, less so. I think the Naughty Dog space game is definitely one where people were not happy with the way that character looked. I don't necessarily have any issue towards that game, but I do want to point out that it's okay if you do. The reason why I say that is I didn't like Jack in Mass Effect. Jack was the tattooed, bald psychic character.
Yeah, Jack.
I didn't like their look or their attitude at all. And how dare somebody say, I can't like the look or attitude of something. Now, they could say, if I didn't like the look or attitude of a particular thing, everybody, then you'd be like, okay, that's a little odd. But it's like when you see a character, it's visual. And when you go, I know people who did not like playing fucking Uncharted because they didn't like the way Nathan Drake looked. I thought he looked like the generic middle-aged but still got a faux hawk guy, right? That's not a faux hawk, but still has a little, little spiky Cliff Blazinski haircut, right? Like he's like swashbuckler, sort of a Han Solo kind of thing. But I know people who were tired of that and wanted something different. People who love Stellar Blade because she's hot. Some people didn't like Stellar Blade,
Yeah.
Jeff says, ACG, did you bang Jack? No. I didn't.
I did actually, Jeff.
I didn't like the look or anything. Johnny will bang anything though, so I'm sure Johnny did.
How dare you?
I'm just joking.
She had the personality, okay?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I get it.
To be fair, I regretted it later, but
you regret? Banging Jack,
picking her as the romance. I didn't end up liking her too much. I thought initially, she's gonna have an interesting personality. But I think there's a thin line between having a strong personality and just being a bit toxic.
Well, we talked about it before. If somebody walks up to you and says, I'm known as a bitch, you're like, well, just so you know, that doesn't in any way exclude you from me disliking you. Like if you're like in any way, you may think it's a get out of jail free card. For me, it's just a warning that you may think you can get away with particular things. Particular actions, or you may just be a brutal person that I really like and a blunt person. It really doesn't mean much, but
yeah.
Personally, I didn't like Bayonetta because I didn't like the design. I also was not a fan of Bayonetta. I totally understand that. I was a fan of Nier Automata, but more along the lines of the robot part. And I was very confused. We've talked about this before. I was very confused by the need for stockings. Like, obviously it was just him.
Yeah.
But what
High heels.
And it worked though. And I'm okay with that. The one that didn't work as much for me, but I didn't dislike was Stellar Blade. Had no real issue with it. I still don't have issues with that kind of stuff. You have people, Veilguard. I don't have issues with the characters' looks in Veilguard. Like they look a certain way. Does it appeal to me? Not as much. But it's like, it is what it is. I care much more about if I bounce off of it, it's fine. Because you've bounced off of stuff. Dude, if you bring me what are they called? Chibi? Isn't Chibi the graphics style of like old Final Fantasy? Dude, I'm sorry, man. But it's going to have to be something so special and so unique and so amazing for me to really like a game that looks that way. It's just not for me. It's almost like, imagine if somebody wanted to tell you everybody had to like the same art and you walk into somebody's house, one person likes modern art, the other person is from Texas and likes, heads on their walls from the animals they kill. You know what I mean? It's like, and then trying to pretend one of you is a better or worse person. So do I.
Some people bounced off Horizon because they didn't like the way Aloy looked. I think there it was a bit.
Well, that changed a bit too in the sequel. They definitely did. I think they said it was texture detail or something, but they definitely made her almost look like she had like skin issues or something. Like it was weird. Somebody showed a picture of that. I don't remember. I haven't really. I didn't look too close. I think so. Maybe peach fuzz on her face or something. I don't remember. But there's always somebody zooming in on some face of some character.
I don't think it makes sense to not play a game because of the gender of because you do see that where people say, I don't want to play Horizon because it's a lady and I want to play as a male.
Right.
I've never personally understood that because I think you've said this in the past, like when you read a book, very often you're reading through the POV, the perspective of a character, and they are a different gender or maybe even different, species if you're doing sci-fi sometimes. So I don't think you need the same gender. If you're creating your character, I understand it. If you wanted to, to be a version of yourself or whatever. But in a game where you have a crafted character, I don't see the issue personally.
I have never, that I can remember, had it come up where that's been an issue. But I could see where it would come up if it was like let's say it's a story about 50 years ago. No, that wouldn't even bother me. It's never bothered me, but I don't see it. I don't see that there couldn't be a time where it wouldn't where that might not come up, because to remove male female from it, if there's a robot as a main character, I actually do find those harder to get into. So Astrobot, I am not as big of a fan of Astrobot, you know, sort of the human tendencies of Astrobot, the look, the over exaggerated, blah blah blah. So, but I did like this last one. I'm just saying, as a whole, I think robots might pop up on mine. Like, so I could see if robots do. I mean, it doesn't always have to be about you hate something. It could just be that for whatever reason, it doesn't work for you. But I will tell you, as somebody who's taught martial arts, as somebody who's been in it since they were 4, dude, it is true that, like, there's a difference between weight levels, guys and girls, all that kind of stuff. So you'll see a martial arts movie, or martial arts game, somebody's hit, and you'll see somebody say, oh, that's unrealistic, blah blah blah. On the other hand, I've also seen people who are insanely good and would give a hassle to somebody if they weren't prepared. Like in Star Wars Outlaws, there's these, like, I guess you call them full from Texas kind of haymaker punches. And I saw so many people being like, oh, I can't believe somebody, you know, would pretend that a person could get knocked out by this full haymaker punch from a 120-pound, 130-pound woman. And I'm like, dude, I've watched it happen. Like, if you're not prepared, dude, there's a video on YouTube where a guy gets knocked out by a toddler. Like, it just hits him just perfectly. That's not an indicator that happens all the time. It's just an indication that it's like, it is a game. You can turn off your, you know, desire for everything to be perfectly real at some point, you know. But I don't think about this stuff too much. I've never really been too futzed by any main character that I can remember, unless they come across weird in the trailer where I don't like their. Do you know a game that everybody loves? The one where you're the bad guy at the end, and I'm not going to feel bad for spoiling a 20-year-old game. It's the one where you're the guy in Afghanistan, I believe, and you're having visions, but you don't know they're visions. It's the one Silver likes so much. Oh my God. It got it's a first-person shooter, got a ton of press.
Isn't that Ghost Recon? No.
Can anybody in chat remind me of what this game is? You're the bad guy. It's got it's a pretty amazing story. I think it's Afghanistan. You're in the Middle East somewhere. You're a mercenary. Spec Ops the line. Thank you.
Spec Ops?
Yeah. Okay. I didn't like his character in the trailer at all. I didn't like the way he sounded, the way he acted, whatever. So I had a pretty hard time, like, actually even enjoying that game. So that can happen too. The way they talk, the way they emote. Just like if you watch a YouTuber and you see me and you see some hottie, sorry, but I have no problem losing out to the hottie.
Yeah, makes sense.
I mean, we can pretend this stuff doesn't exist, but looks matter, and things that you like or dislike matter. But I will get mad when somebody says it's brand new and it's never happened before, and I'm here playing Tomb Raider, Triangle Tits Tomb Raider from the PlayStation 1, where her boobs were like 15 polygons, and I'm like, listen, man, at some point, not everything's woke. Some stuff is woke, for sure, but not everything is. Like, I would make a character, or I would make a game with female characters, and I'm about as unwoke as you could ever. I guess I'm unwoke and unwoke now that I think about it. But, like, I would make one. I would just put them in there. I'd probably put shit in there just to piss people off, because I love pissing people off. Little anarchy is always good. Access Media loves to give good reviews. I used to believe that, but it's not really true. Jeff Ray says, Carrick, as a guy, I think you're fairly handsome, so don't sell yourself short. Fairly handsome. That was a nice way of saying it.
Go.
It's like, if I was blind and there was nobody around and you were the last person on Earth and the world was ending and I hadn't had sex in 50 years, then, I'd do you.
Yeah. I mean, there's an audience there.
There's an audience. Sure you have an audience. Remember, it's the filter. The filter in Google.
Filter within a filter.
By the way, I'm just joking. I have absolutely no issues. Denny says, also, stormtroopers famously incompetent. Them getting knocked out is pretty on point. That is absolutely true. Yeah. The thing about like those kind of games doesn't bother me at all. Like, it's never. I mean, somebody getting knocked out in a game. I forgot all about the stormtroopers not being able to hit shit. They're militarily trained, and they can't hit a fucking thing.
They have the most ineffective weapons.
Yeah. Turns out different people have different motives. Yes, exactly. I mean, that's the important thing, is that different people do have different motives, and not everybody's right and left, not everybody's center. I definitely don't know mine. One of these days I'd have to track I bet you could use ChatGPT to do this, where you could give it all your thoughts on the various big things that occur in life. Like, do you believe that, social health care or whatever, and you could find out where you align, because I'm all over the place. Even people who know me are like, like I'm definitely.
I always think that's a good sign
that you're all over the place.
If you aren't completely aligned with, just one, because that means you're taking wholesale,
I don't take anything wholesale. Even in my own family, somebody will say something, and they'll be like expecting me to agree, and I'll be like, well, no, not on that part. I don't. My parents will be like, Jesus. I'm like, well, dude, if we're getting into the nitty gritty, get into the nitty gritty. I'm not going to collapse everything under a parachute of decisions. Like, that's not the way I am. I don't give a fuck if somebody likes me or doesn't like me for that reason. Like, I never have. People get mad about YouTube. I mean, dude, look at YouTube. I got botted 22,000 downvotes on the preview. Now, they got removed, but I showed the picture in the chat. It was at one point, it was 22,000 downvotes. And YouTube fixed it, but I was like, dude, that you can't tell me that's not just somebody really mad who went out and bought a bunch of dislikes and they went away, and people are like, oh, you're woke. I'm like, no, I'm not. Just watch the podcast for 15 minutes. But I am, just like you, we're pretty independent, and I think that that's the thing. Which goes back to somebody saying like Access Media gives good reviews. It's like, if they did, we'd see a lot more, I think, good reviews for truly bad games, not good reviews for okay or good games. I think the thing that goes on is that a lot of people who critique games can also go the other way too and get negative towards games. And you can hear it in their voice. Like, you can hear the tiredness in their voice sometimes when they're talking about a game. There's certain people that I can't even watch anymore because I can hear their road weariness. Oh, this isn't this game from 5 years ago. And you're like, Jesus Christ, dude, it's not. That's true. And it's not supposed to be, but it happens. Just like you will play a game, a genre for League of Legends, for instance. You like that, but I don't think I've ever heard you be like, oh man, I'm going to play every League of Legends game. You get tired of them after a while.
Yeah. But of course.
If you're reviewing, what you need to do is basically, I mean, if you already have a negative thought or a positive thought towards something and you're like tracking it down, that's when I think it can get nervous. That's why I don't like to talk positively about a bunch of stuff early or do a lot of previews, because I'm sort of like, I think I'd wait. I think I'd rather wait, because what if this turns out to be, exactly the opposite of what I expect? Imagine having nuanced thought in this day and age. Nobody has it. Come on. Nobody has nuanced thought. Nuanced thought's stupid. You all just need to agree with me, is all I'm saying. What else do we got for news? We got anything amazing?
I think that's about it.
Dude, it's been a fantastic couple weeks, though, for games. Sorry, go ahead. You've been what?
Yeah. No, it has, with all the Switch stuff, too, finally. Cool to see. I have been rewatching a show, Dexter. Have you seen it?
I saw the first couple seasons. Yeah. Not
really.
I didn't dislike it at all. I didn't love it, but I just, never got back to it. I did get a little tired of him. Like, at some point he's murdered everybody in town. He tells everybody, but also no one figures it out, that kind of shit. But yeah, I've liked it. I liked it. Where are you?
I watched it many years ago and I liked it a lot. I watched it as a teenager, so it's cool to return to it. We were talking about rewatching shows, and since then I've gone back to rewatch a couple. I've rewatched Lost entirely, which is a great one to rewatch. Dexter is pretty good too, and these hold up pretty well. You don't see a lot of off-putting, like really old stuff.
Right? Yeah, because
you see some big computers and stuff, but
yeah, right. Isn't it weird that a lot of overall that we're liking and disliking now for shows, and the changes that we see in shows? It used to be a cell phone, is being used, and now cell phones have got to a certain size and sort of stuck that way, if not got bigger. You know, I mean, like now we're getting like the flip phones
For sure.
with that do this the fold out
They're
screens.
now getting bigger.
They're going back, right? But big computers are definitely a sign of how old. You see X-Files and he's typing on a DOS black and green screen, monochrome. You're like, damn, okay, you know.
All right, man.
The phone doesn't even bother me as much, you know, because in the later seasons, especially, they start getting the old gray Motorola's with the antenna. That was the other thing. Slowly, antennas went away. You know, you just get
because in this one they got the flip phones and stuff. The ones where barely there's a screen. You know, like a text only screen type thing.
Yeah, tech in games. That's what I think's always been interesting in games. Is I don't know why games don't age for me. Maybe it's because you don't interact with that stuff, but like even when I play, maybe it's because they're always aiming for a futuristic version, but like I played Alpha Protocol a couple levels about 6 months ago. That game still felt new. Like, you know, the technology. But again, it's probably because it was aiming at the military complex that, you know, they guess is 20 years ahead of what we get socially maybe or something. Though he does, I think, does he use a normal phone? He might actually use a normal phone in that game because you have your base. It's either that or a big. I think that part might be a little goofy, but for the most part, games don't seem to age very much.
Yeah, it's true.
I like that.
Yeah, Dexter. I was just gonna say they did a recent season, like a final season of Dexter, because the show stopped, I think, around season 7, many years ago. And it just basically I think it got canceled at some point, so it didn't get a great conclusion. So they came back maybe a couple years ago, and they did something called like Original Sin, which is a new season with current cast and stuff. Yeah, which was quite good, actually. I liked it.
I like Michael Hall. He's in a bunch of stuff. He was in stuff.
Yeah.
I think he was in Johnny Be Good. It was the first time I saw him with Ethan Hawke's ex-wife, the girl from the Tarantino 3 flicks, where Samurai Swords movie.
Yeah,
Kill Bill.
And I think he went through cancer and stuff.
Anthony Michael Hall, did he?
Yeah, I believe so.
Damn.
Yeah. I think he had a rough time. But yeah, it's been nice rewatching that, man. There's something about rewatching.
I was going to say somebody says that his sister is hot. Oh, the girl he was dating who's also his sister? Yeah. Yeah, that was funny. I don't think so.
Oh, was he actually dating her in real life?
Dexter's sister in the show was his real life girlfriend for a while.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Dude, that was a great sound. Okay.
Because I was, for a second, I was like.
No, not his real sister. I mean, that's Kentucky. I'm just joking. Kentuckians are like, how dare you, Carrick? No, for me, dude, I've been going back. We did been like doing all the stuff for the Discord, trying to get that shit fixed. But I have been rewatching a bunch of stuff. I rewatched a little trailer, Little Travelers, and then a bunch of sci-fi, bunch of Kyle Hill's science videos. Dude cracks me the fuck up, man. Every time, some of the funniest random one-liners that just pop out of nowhere where you're talking and it's like boom, and it just comes up and you're like, what the fuck did he just say? That's so like when he randomly is talking about space and then mentions getting lost in the laundry room because your stepsister's head gets stuck in a laundry machine. I was like, oh man. And the thing is he says it so bad that it's like boom, 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 boom. You move on, but anybody like of a certain age is going to go, what?
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's got a better sense of nuance than I certainly do. Like his jokes are on that secondary.
He's good weaving in the cultural references that into his
juggalos. Something happened with the juggalos. I can't remember what it was, but it was he was mad about it, and so like 6 of his videos, he's like, you know, or you could be like flat earthers or juggalos, you know, and he just move on before you could like sit there and think about it. He was already moving to the next thing, and I thought that was awesome. Let's see. Ironically, that's where she's from, Kentucky. Citizen Sleeve says, wasn't Michael Hall in 6 Feet Under? Never heard of that. I don't know what that is.
That's an older show. I haven't really seen much of it.
Gotcha. What else do we got going on for the week? What are we at for time? We're at
about 3 hours.
3 hours 5. So here we go. We got some science stuff. So did you see the new science stuff that came out last week about dark energy and the new thought process around it?
No.
Okay. So they used another study. They got, I can't remember the name of the mirror, but it's the crazy one with like 10,000.
The new one? Yeah.
Yeah, dude. That thing looks like, that's Mass Effect, but that's Oblivion level.
I can't believe that thing worked.
How does it work? Dude, did you see that
when you look at what the deployment was?
Yes, it's like crazy looking. And they show a video where they zoom down from the top down and it's like, and all these things. And
there's
it looks
no way that can have worked, man.
So they did studies and they were looking at distances between stars as they've gone out and the light as they've moved continually. And the data combined with other data suggests that dark energy has changed its gravitational power since the Big Bang. It's slowly adjusted.
Like it has increased or something over time.
That's the thing. Originally, that is the thought process. We'll go on forever and that we're going faster and faster. However, this data that they've got is now indicating that it's losing it slightly and that the chance of a big crunch is higher than the chance of a big tear. Yeah. Dude, yeah, look at it. Neil deGrasse Tyson, Brian Green, bunch of people. Yeah. I think Cool Worlds is one of my favorites, even though he can get a little bit like, and the greatness of the world. Sometimes you're like, okay.
Yeah.
But he's great. They're all great. And they all did videos on it and said that, needing more science behind it, needing more tests. But this has actually matched up with some of the other idiosyncrasies they've saw throughout the years as they were talking about it.
So it's changing some of our assumptions.
It's changing some of our assumptions about if we'll have a great rip or the great darkness, which is where everything is separated from everything. Like the idea of that billions of years in the future, if humans were here, which we wouldn't be, but if we were,
we wouldn't even see anything.
See nothing. Yeah. So then I was like, listen to this. Imagine humans didn't start. Something bad happened. Boom, right? We don't start. We get through the expansion. Back to the contraction, then we start. Imagine how confusing, how fucking utterly confusing science and astronomy would be if everything looked like it was coming towards the Earth. So imagine, do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So imagine everything's coming back. That's when it starts. It starts when shit's getting close enough, stuff's condensing, boom. Humans, something happens, mammals, fucking dinosaur, people are here. And you look up and you see everything and all of your data at that time indicates things are contracting. That would be it. And then like, what would the science even look like? Like, how would you put together, first of all, the mechanics and the chemicals wouldn't be the same, which is, like one of the issues we have from the Big Bang is that the chemical structure changed, but it would still be amazing to see like how all that would work out. Yeah, it was cool, man. I mean, I like the idea that we're sort of questioning that too, because after a while you start to feel we figured not everything out, but people are like, okay, we sort of know black holes. We sort of know this. And then there was another study.
Crazy to me.
Oh, go ahead.
Go on. No, you continue. What's the other study?
This one's a little bit more, it's not far out. It's just, there was the idea that during that contraction, because the black holes would be so massive, because remember, black holes are always growing, things extend. Then as a contraction happens, they would start to feed again. The idea would be at some point, if multiple black holes met, there might be something with quantum physics that would fuck up, that would allow for them to explode their matter out, all the matter they've ever collected. Because remember, they leak data through the Hawking radiation, but most of the data is still combined in there. And, that's why people are like, are there white holes somewhere? And I was explaining to one of my friends, I was like, or what if all the black holes are like 1,000 drains going to the same sewer? And so every other dimension is where our data goes into and explodes out and causes a big bang in another dimension, because because the black hole thing is always confusing to me. It's like, it's got all the information, but it's not in there, but it's not going away, but it's like,
and some of it is like dissipating with the
Hawking radiation
or whatever.
But anyway, what were you going to say? Sorry, I interrupted you.
I was going to say it's incredible to me that so much of our model of quantum mechanics and everything checks out completely in the experiments in the in the Hadron Collider and stuff. I mean, this collider is kilometers,
7 or 14
miles,
or something. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, something like that.
47.
So it's gigantic, and we've been able to test stuff at like a crazy precision, and it's all completely backed up. The measurements and everything from our theory, and it kind of, I don't know if I'm impressed, like, wow, our theory is just amazing, or I'm disappointed in the sense that are there no more surprises?
Dude, I think for quantum mechanics, there's surprises all the way down. I do. We may understand one or two things, but like whenever anybody says you understand quantum mechanics, you don't, as the saying goes. I feel like it's so small that we'll never be able to figure out. So I feel like that kind of stuff and experimentation will continue forever, which is what I do like.
I think it's also one thing to be able to measure stuff and predict, right?
And the other thing to know why the fuck it's happening.
Or what it means. Yeah. What does it mean for a particle to behave in, as a wave or as a particle, depending on whether or not it has interacted with your measurement. That's still not settled, right? You have big pools of people talking about the multiverse theory, the many worlds interpretation.
Remember when it was string theory? String theory was big for a long time. When I was starting to read, that was big.
I watched the whole thing this week about string theory with Brian Greene. He did an interview with Alex O'Connor. He's got a channel called Cosmic Skeptic, or I think it's
Cosmic
Within
Skeptic?
Reason. His podcast. Yeah, I think the podcast is called Within Reason, and it was a long conversation with Brian Greene, and I think Brian Greene is one of the best explainers of like quantum mechanics, string theory, this type of stuff. Because not only is he really good in his field, and he actually does the work, but he also has the language, to explain, and the verbal ability to explain stuff.
The only thing I find is that sometimes you can just run out of the internet, on certain topics like this, because everybody's at the same level of knowledge. So you'll find one podcast, and then you'll find another, and they're sort of done. Yeah. Other than the
language only gets you so far, right? The metaphors, but I find it so weird. The whole idea behind string theory, it almost sounds like someone was high and they were talking like, bro, what if the particles, instead of being dots, are strings? They're like these filaments that vibrate at different frequencies, and that explains everything. And somehow that now fits and makes the math possible.
Yeah. I think that one, it's definitely losing or has lost most of its backing. Even most of the guys who used to talk about string theory are changing their ideas, but I sort of like that too. I'm sort of okay with that. I know people are like, oh, we need to keep fighting for it. But one thing I do like about scientists is a lot of times they're like, oh, okay, well, that doesn't check out. Guess we'll have to switch. That didn't pan out.
We spent 20 years working on it. Didn't pan out.
Johnny Blue Jean says he's watching string theory docs, and here I'm watching Married with Children. Dude, we watch both. Trust me. All of this kind of stuff is.
I watched Kitchen Nightmares. Maybe that's a guilty pleasure. I watch a bit of that.
Maybe it is.
Have you ever seen Kitchen Nightmares with Gordon Ramsay?
With Gordon Ramsay, yeah, the one that does my heart good, and I look up the YouTube video on this all the time. One of the best ones ever is when he goes to the lady and gets the jambalaya from the little southern cooking corner. I guess you'd call it a corner, not a bistro, but a little corner restaurant. Yeah, and he goes in, and they put the food down in front of him, and he's like, on the plate, it looks like shit. It's all mixed together, and he eats it, and you hear him make the sound you probably want to hear Gordon make, which sounds like a little bit like a very mature pig having sex. He takes a bite, and you hear him go, and then he goes, fuck. And he goes in the back, and he's like, this is amazing. Like, he's like, this, you made this?
Wow.
And she's like, yeah. And he's all, this is, and she's like, oh my Lord. You know, she like steps back. She's like, oh, because it's just two people in a kitchen. I think it's a husband and wife team. And it's just awesome because his bite is hilarious because he gets it and he's like, oh, this looks like shit on the plate. And he scooped it and he's like, fucking hell, or whatever he says. And I was like, oh, dude, that was awesome. That was awesome. Like, it was such a good reaction.
Fucking hell.
And and you know, I mean, because True Kitchen Nightmares is always the negatives. So this was the other show that he does. I can't remember what it is, but he travels the world and he tries random things because he didn't fix their kitchen on this one. The True Kitchen Nightmares I used to like, but for the most part I fell off of because I think generally they're all staged in some way. Oh, you know, or people are too bad. They're way worse than they should be. It was like I used to watch the dad and the son do the motorbikes, the choppers one. When that was first on for the first couple years, that was amazing television because, and not for the drama. I love competence porn. These guys are amazing at making bikes I would never want to own, but some movie star maybe wants to own.
Yeah.
Right? Like, or some person wants to collect one. I got no problem with that. And watching them create was like, that's amazing. But then they realized, like YouTubers with shit thumbnails and fucking clickbaity articles, that your best bet to get even more people is some kind of drama. And the sniping started happening. And then it became real, and they really had a real falling out. And you're like, damn, that sucks, because I love that I like those kind of shows. The first couple of years of a show is usually the best. I mean, for almost anything. But I think in particular back in the day, I'm not a reality TV show, but if I did watch them, I noticed even Dirty Jobs was better in the first, because people didn't know who he was for years.
Exactly. It starts to become very formulaic.
Yeah.
And that is the thing with Kitchen Nightmares. You can tell the beats coming up. You know actually what's coming next because it's so familiar and it's so formulaic.
Yeah. Anything else you've been watching?
I would say that's a guilty pleasure. No. Black Mirror, Dexter. I think that's about it. Yeah.
Trying to think if I've been reading anything or watching anything. Been fun programming stuff. Got some new software, new hardware. That'll be fun for the next couple of weeks. Expedition 33, people can expect my review. I can't remember when that's coming out for review, but we'll be reviewing that one. End of this month has 2 or 3 big games, and then Mafia now August, which is cool. So August has got some good months, or good games. Sorry, we're in April. May, I think, has 1 or 2 big ones. Anybody in chat, if you remember what ones are coming in these months, feel free to pipe off on something you're interested in. I asked Discord, well, before we wrap it up, let me actually read this. So I asked, or sorry, not Discord, I asked the patrons what games they're interested in. Now, normally on Patreon, people know I just review. Like, I'm not really hey, let me tell you 8,000 things a day. I'm not really a patron. I do that in the Discord for the most part. But occasionally when I ask a question, it will get a shit ton of responses. And I did for this one. I said 2025 games coming out. I said, what games are you interested in? Valkyrie said Dune Awakening, as well as Doom. Dune Awakening has gone up my list. I read an article in one of the PC magazines yesterday on it, and higher than I thought I was going to be. Kells says War Sales expansion, Crimson Desert, if it releases. Traveling at Night, Roadcraft, and Battlegroup VR, all ones I can get behind. Bitlerus says, mainly looking forward to Outer Worlds 2, Claire, Obscura, the Expeditions, and the Altars, and maybe Mafia. Hamish says, Ghost of Yotai, and maybe Dune. Jazz says, cool. Outer Worlds 2, Crimson Desert, Subnautica 2, and considering to play Atom Fall, as well as AC Shadows and South of Midnight. Omar says, Roadcraft. I love that people all... Dude, Roadcraft popped up a lot in this, and that makes me sort of happy, because I know it's not what you and I have played in the past with like mud tires and Snow Runner.
Yeah, Snow Runner.
It's its own thing. He also says Tempest. Lippy says South of Midnight is what I'm playing right now. Sleight of Hand looks cool. You ever heard of Sleight of Hand? Sleight of Hand?
No.
Never heard of that one. Okay. John Martin says
Fate is the thing
that's the one that's what I thought. Outer Worlds 2, John says. Vig says Metal Eden, Altars, Expedition 33, Mafia, TOC. TOC.
Not sure.
TOC. TOC. Damn, I don't know what that is. Ghost of Yotai, FBC, Firebreak, Kingmakers, Judas, Ninja Gaiden, and Ragebound. Coast to Co says Dune Awakening. Guys says Expedition 33. Alex says Expedition 33 and GTA. Matt says Tempest, Deliver at All Costs, Kingmakers, and Broken Arrow. And Solar says GTA 6 is the big one. Metal Gear Solid Delta. So he was the only one to mention Metal Gear Solid Delta, but I think the reason why that is it could just be because it's been so... It's like we thought it was coming out in November, or at least that was one of the rumors. It didn't. It feels like it's been done for a while. So I think a lot of us are just waiting for it to get a solid release date would be nice. Eternal says, I highly recommend The Pit. Paper, that's a TV show, by the way. I've watched it. Paper says Mafia. Citizen Sleeve says I finished El Toro's A Strain. Aries says Rune Factory, Guardians of Azuma. Eternal says Dune Awakening may actually get me back into MMOs. Paper Rival RoboCop expansion will hopefully be good too. I didn't know there was going to be one. Damn. Okay. Yeah, that game's caught.
I forgot about Rune Factory. That's an interesting mix of like cozy farming,
right,
with some combat as well. It does look pretty polished.
Yeah.
And then we have Elden Ring Night Rain in May.
We do, or you do. I don't think that one. I don't think that's appealing to me. Is it appealing to you?
Not as much. No.
What do you think it is?
Interesting.
Do you think it's its game style? Do you think it's what do you think? What do you think is causing you to not be into that?
I think I need to see more from it. I haven't really seen much of what the gameplay is gonna be. But also, I'm a bit burnt out from Souls in general. So.
Yeah, Souls games are hitting.
It's a lot of Souls. There's also Monster Train 2, which I'm interested in.
Monster Train 2?
Yeah, the first one was
great.
really good.
Yeah, first one was awesome. We got anything else before we wrap it up? Any cool stories? Any amazing shit? Anything?
No, that's I think that's what I got.
Did you add a guitar?
What I got for you today? No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, okay.
Same. No.
That pink.
Sometimes I move them around because I pick one up versus another.
Oh, I see. Okay, I think the last time I looked, also I saw the one that looks like it's sprouting from your neck, and I don't think I've ever actually seen the full body on that one. What's that one? What's the one that's right behind?
One on top of me?
No, it's behind you on the ground, and I can see it if you look at the angle of myself that one.
This one. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
This one is an American.
Some Johnny Be Good.
Strat. Yeah. This is my best guitar, by the way, in terms of like
sound and play
quality and stuff.
Quality.
Yeah.
So you leave your best guitar just leaning up against the wall, and you hang up your 1980s.
Because this one is on the floor. This one's on the floor mount because it's the easiest to pick up.
It's a floor mount.
It's the one I play most.
Okay, I got you. I was going to give you shit.
Yeah.
And then the last question before we wrap it up is Paper Rival says, how many guitars do you have, Johnny?
I have 7 guitars, 1 bass, and 2 acoustics. 7 electric. Yeah.
You are aware it's just you and 2 hands, right?
Yes, I have to stop buying guitars.
No, you don't. Dude, come on. I mean, I have 38 airsoft guns. All right, that'll be it for us, man. The time passed insanely fast. It did not feel like 3 hours. That felt like an hour, man. That's crazy. I hope everybody has a good week. Expect to see, more reviews from me. Also, thanks for everybody showing up on those. Thanks to Johnny, as always. Are you streaming tomorrow?
I probably am. Either it's probably going to be some more AC Shadows.
Oh, okay.
Is what I'm thinking. Yeah.
And that'll be it
for us. And then we'll see everybody in the Discord chats.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, if you're not in Discord, you're not cool. Peace out, everybody. Have an excellent weekend.
Bye-bye.
Or week, or whatever it is. Boom. And the